The elegant, blonde-haired matriarch delivered the crushing blow with icy composure, declaring that Christine was officially expelled from the prestigious Arist family. She ordered the young woman to pack her belongings and be gone by the following morning. Stunned, Christine could only utter a quiet plea for clarification, completely unaware of how drastically this moment would alter her destiny as a merchant. Desperation laced her voice as she pleaded with the matriarch, begging to know what she had done to deserve such a fate. She insisted she had fulfilled every duty expected of a daughter from their distinguished lineage. Yet, her protests fell on deaf ears, met only by the cold, unyielding stares of the older woman and the smug, blonde-haired nobleman standing beside her. Their noble house boasted a proud history stretching back 3 centuries, rooted in the legendary era when the first-generation heroes, summoned from another realm, vanquished the demon race. It was one of those very saviors who had been granted a title, laying the foundation for the immensely powerful trading empire she was now being cast out of. Cutting through the weight of that legacy, the matriarch stated with brutal simplicity that the young woman was simply no longer necessary to the household. The dismissal struck a nerve. Christine immediately pushed back, her confusion deepening as she revealed that her father had just appointed her to manage the lucrative southern branch starting the very next month. She remained unfazed by the girl's appointment, smoothly pivoting to the impending, grand summoning of a new hero. The older woman explained, with a hint of haughty pride, that their house had just received a direct royal decree mandating their absolute and unwavering support for this newly chosen savior. Stepping forward, the blonde nobleman took over the explanation, a self-satisfied smirk playing on his lips. He detailed how the recent council meeting had specifically tasked the southern branch with catering to the new hero's every whim. However, his tone darkened as he declared that such a sacred duty could only be entrusted to someone possessing the pure, rightful blood of the Arist lineage. The true venom of his argument was unleashed by the matriarch, who sneered that someone tainted with filthy elven blood could never be trusted with such an honor. She cruelly reminded the girl that she was merely the offspring of a deceased concubine, insisting she should be grateful for the charity of being housed at all. The racial slur struck deep, causing Christine's eyes to widen in a mix of profound hurt and rising, defensive fury. She continued her verbal assault, outlining the family's true succession plan. With the eldest son already controlling the main enterprise, she argued it was only natural for the second son, Ostel, to claim the southern branch. She then accused the half-elf of scheming to use the managerial position to usurp the role of successor, expressing utter disgust at the very idea of a demi-human leading their prestigious family. Outraged by the baseless accusation, Christine demanded to know who had spread such vicious lies. The nobleman merely chuckled, mockingly quoting the founding ancestors' teachings about maintaining a refined demeanor. As she watched his smug expression, the pieces finally clicked into place for the young outcast. She lowered her gaze, a heavy sigh escaping her lips as she realized the bitter truth. Her foolish half-brother had eagerly spun a web of lies to frame her, successfully poisoning the matriarch's mind to steal her rightful position. She listened as the matriarch coldly confirmed that her expulsion had the full backing of the family head, Bluza. In her mind, she pictured her father, a man who had cared for her and her mother, but who ultimately lacked the political power to defy his first wife's ducal lineage. Realizing negotiation was impossible, she simply closed her eyes, accepting the inevitable. Opening her eyes, she calmly agreed to pack her belongings and depart. Unwilling to leave any loose ends, the older woman pointed toward the wall, demanding that the half-elf swear upon the family crest to abandon the royal capital entirely, ensuring her complete removal from their lives. Approaching the ornate tapestry bearing the 2-headed eagle crest, she felt a strange sense of relief at being so thoroughly despised. The woven fabric was no mere decoration. It was embedded with a spirit seal of contract, a magical binding that would inflict intense pain, or even death, should the oath be broken. Placing her hand firmly against the crest, she invoked the contract spirit, engage. Her voice remained steady as she swore to vacate the capital within 3 days, vowing never to claim the family name again. As the magic took hold, a faint, ethereal light pulsed around her hand, sealing the unbreakable pact. Satisfied with the binding oath, the matriarch dismissed her with a wave, ordering her to leave immediately. Beside her, the second son offered a parting sneer, his voice dripping with malice as he mockingly wished her luck, avoiding a miserable death on the streets. Retreating to her private quarters, she knelt on the floor and began folding her modest wardrobe into a travel bag. While a pang of sadness struck her at the thought of leaving without bidding farewell to her absent father, a much larger wave of relief washed over her. The prospect of never seeing her tormentors again felt like a heavy weight lifting from her shoulders. Slapping her cheeks to dispel the lingering gloom, she pumped her fists with renewed determination. The worst was over, and she resolved to face her uncertain future with a positive spirit, refusing to dwell on the cruelty of her former family. Among her few personal possessions, she carefully picked up a thick, ornate tome. It was Shirley's grimoire, a mysterious heirloom left behind by her late mother. She traced the intricate silver patterns on its cover, recalling her mother's warning that a specific, elusive blessing was required to even open its pages. Her thoughts drifted to the unfair distribution of talents within a household. While her elder and younger brothers had been gifted with powerful, hereditary skills passed down from the first ancestor, abilities like item box and product knowledge, she had been entirely bypassed by the family's magical lineage. Staring down at the sealed book, she acknowledged her unique heritage. Though she lacked the ancestral gifts of her father's bloodline, she had inherited the elf blood blessing of spirit magic from her mother. Yet, without the opportunity to ever study or practice it, the latent power remained an untapped mystery in her hands. She held the sealed grimoire close to her chest, vowing to treasure her mother's keepsake, even if its contents remained a mystery. Her quiet moment was interrupted by the arrival of an older gentleman in a crisp suit. "Lady Christine," he called out gently. She turned, recognizing the familiar face of Jester, a loyal servant of the estate. Approaching her, Jester offered a small, heavy pouch, his expression heavy with regret. He confessed his shame at being unable to do more for her in the end. She quickly reassured him, expressing her deep gratitude for everything he had done, and asked about the unexpected gift in his hands. He revealed the contents: a valuable blue-silver coin and an elegant ring resting in a velvet box. He explained that her father, the master of the house, had specifically requested she take them. It was a final gesture, ensuring she carried a keepsake tied to the Marquis lineage as she ventured into the unknown. Touched by the gesture, she slipped the delicate band onto her finger. The metal caught the light, sparkling softly against her skin. With a warm smile, she asked Jester to pass on her heartfelt thanks to her father for the precious gift. As she admired the jewelry, a faint, unexpected glow pulsed from the ring, catching her off guard for a fleeting second. Shaking off the surprise, she exchanged final, fond farewells with Jester. With her ties to the capital officially severed, she turned her back on her old life, a bright smile gracing her face as she anticipated the leisurely journey ahead. 1 week later, the sprawling commercial city of Merkberry stretched out before her, a bustling hub of trade and culture. She stood overlooking the vibrant streets, reflecting on the world's history, an era shaped by the legendary first hero, whose influence had spread various arts and customs across the lands over the past 7 days of the hero calendar. Settling into a modest inn room, she began to plan her new life under an assumed identity. She had successfully registered as an independent merchant, taking the name Christina Fail, combining the elven word for her given name with her mother's ancestral clan. While her father's blue-silver coin secured her immediate lodgings, she knew she needed to register with a local commercial guild soon to rebuild her life from scratch. Pushing those practical concerns aside for the afternoon, she stepped out into the lively town square. The cobblestone streets were alive with vendors and townsfolk. Energized by the vibrant atmosphere, she decided to thoroughly explore the local markets before tackling her guild registration the following morning. She wandered through the maze of stalls, her eyes wide with wonder at the sheer variety of shops. Her attention was soon captured by a merchant displaying exotic wares. He warmly welcomed her, boasting of fine goods imported from the distant sandcastle cities of the eastern deserts, inviting her to take a closer look. Drawn to a beautifully crafted, jewel-encrusted dagger, she picked it up to admire the intricate stonework. Internally, she lamented that her basic commerce training wasn't enough to accurately appraise such precious gems, wishing she possessed a specific blessing for trade. Yet, as her fingers gripped the hilt, the ring her father had given her began to emit a subtle, mysterious light once more. As she held the jeweled dagger, a sudden, disembodied voice echoed within her mind. It announced that her awakening conditions had been met, granting her a series of powerful blessings: an item box, a universal appraisal eye, knowledge of an otherworld language, and a mysterious secret art. Startled, she wondered where the voice had come from. Confused by the sudden proclamation, she quickly turned to the merchant, asking if he had just spoken to her. The tradesman simply blinked in surprise and shook his head, confirming he hadn't said a word. Realizing the voice was entirely internal, a thought struck her. As the merchant explained that the dagger was a beautifully decorated relic from the Flat Valley dungeon valued at 25 gold coins, she silently commanded her newly acquired appraisal eye to activate. Instantly, the world shifted. Instead of hearing the appraisal results in her head, detailed information materialized visually before her eyes. Floating text hovered over the merchant's wares, revealing a short sword worth 5 silver coins, a decorative bracelet for 25 gold, and, most notably, a Flame Emperor's Guardian ring valued at a staggering 250 gold coins. Her gaze locked onto the unassuming ring resting in its display box. Keeping her expression carefully neutral despite the massive appraised value hovering above it, she casually asked the merchant how much he wanted for the piece. The merchant glanced at the ring, noting its flame engraving but dismissing it as having no magical properties. He offered it to her for a mere 5 silver coins. Without a second of hesitation, she eagerly agreed to the purchase. Leaving the stall behind, she practically skipped down the street, clutching her new acquisition. She couldn't believe her incredible luck at securing such a valuable treasure for a fraction of its true worth. while the merchant cheerfully waved her off, completely unaware of the fortune he had just parted with. Ducking into a quiet, secluded alleyway, she decided to test another of her newfound abilities. Curious if the other blessings functioned just as seamlessly, she called out for her item box. In a flash of light, a dimensional space opened, instantly storing the newly purchased ring box. A translucent inventory list materialized in the air, clearly displaying the stored ring. Staring at the confirmation, the reality of her situation finally sank in. The incredible powers she had been granted were undeniably real. Though she still didn't understand exactly why she had suddenly received these extraordinary blessings all at once, a wave of determination washed over her. Recognizing that her greatest strength was her ability to think simply and clearly, she resolved to master the universal appraisal I, the item box, the otherworld language, and the R's secret art to forge her own path forward. She recalled a distant memory of her mother holding a heavy tome, explaining that unlocking the grimoire required a very specific blessing. The realization hit her as she stood in her room, clutching that very same book. The otherworld language and R's secret art were exactly the blessings her mother had spoken of. Hoping to finally decipher her mother's keepsake, she deduced that the otherworld language would translate the ancient hero language, even if the purpose of the secret art remained a mystery, and she silently pleaded for the cover to yield. Her plea was answered by the sharp, mechanical click of a lock disengaging, sending a jolt of anticipation through her. As the cover swung open, the grimoire erupted with blinding light, projecting glowing, ethereal screens that displayed mundane items like tea sets, shortcake, and dresses into the air around her. The dazzling display reflected in her wide, sparkling eyes, leaving her utterly mesmerized by the impossible sight. Shaking off her shock, she read the opening page, discovering that Shirley's grimoire was actually a legendary class magic tool functioning as a mail-order catalog for product from another world. Empowered by her new skills, she effortlessly navigated the foreign text and appraised the goods, her excitement peaking as she enthusiastically declared her intent to order a special ice cream. However, her grand declaration was met with absolute silence, and she stood frozen as absolutely nothing happened. Forcing herself to calm down, she reviewed the instructions more carefully, realizing she first needed to deposit funds by placing a heavy bag of coins directly onto the cover and commanding it to charge. She carefully wrote the item number onto the order sheet, her anticipation building. With a triumphant shout, she finalized her very first otherworldly purchase. Almost immediately, a polite knock echoed through the room. Opening the door, she was greeted by a striking figure in a top hat and a half mask, who introduced himself with a bow as Persona, a representative from Shirley's catalog mail order. The mysterious merchant explained that he had come to personally deliver a commemorative gift for her inaugural order. As he spoke, she found herself momentarily captivated, struck by the undeniable, almost magical aura he projected. Snapping back to reality, she handed over the order sheet. Persona reviewed it smoothly, noting with a smile that the requested item happened to be loaded on his carriage outside, and he would retrieve it at once. True to his word, he returned moments later, presenting her with a flat, rectangular box. She accepted it with wide eyes, marveling at the sudden chill radiating from the package, proof that her otherworldly delivery had truly arrived. With the goods delivered, the merchant politely inquired if she preferred to settle the balance with cash or through her account charge. Opting for the latter, she presented the glowing grimoire. He simply hovered his gloved hand over the ancient book, and with a soft chime, the payment was instantly confirmed. She watched this seamless magical transaction with keen interest. Before departing, Persona handed her a stack of neatly wrapped boxes and the latest season's limited catalog, expressing his hope to serve her again. As the door clicked shut, she stood alone in her quiet room, still processing the whirlwind encounter. Drawn to the window, she peered outside to catch a final glimpse of the merchant. His pure white carriage sat parked on the cobblestones, standing out starkly against the ordinary street. Suddenly, the entire carriage vanished in a thin air, leaving no trace behind. Shaking off her shock, she turned her attention back to the cold box in her hands, determined to check its contents and prove to herself that none of this had been a dream. She threw open the lid of the cold box, revealing several small, round tubs nestled inside. Holding one up, she marveled at the label reading ice cream, though she couldn't help but question the steep price of 62 copper coins and wonder what exactly chocolate flavor meant. Eager to find out, she scooped up a bite with the strange, lightweight, transparent spoon provided. As the cold treat hit her tongue, her eyes widened in sheer shock before she melted into an expression of pure, radiant bliss, overwhelmed by how softly it dissolved in her mouth. Unable to resist, she began shoveling spoonful after spoonful in her mouth, captivated by the perfect balance of slight bitterness and overwhelming sweetness. Realizing she couldn't stop herself, she collapsed backward onto her bed, letting the profound sense of happiness wash over her entirely. Still basking in that lingering euphoria, she quickly realized that having access to such otherworldly products was a dangerous temptation. To keep the remaining treats safe, she decided to store the box away, reaching out with her hand to activate a magical ring on her finger. In an instant, the entire box was sucked into the ring's dimensional storage. Staring at her hand, a grand realization dawned on her. She had brought something truly incredible into this world. Clasping her hands together with newfound determination, she made a silent vow to her mother, declaring that she would use the grimoire to order and sell these otherworldly goods, ultimately becoming the greatest merchant in the entire country. The Chronicle of Christine Fail begins. Expelled from her family's Marquis house, she has embarked on a new life as a traveling merchant. A unique blessing allows her to use the Shirley's grimoire to order goods from another world. After completing the necessary procedures in the commercial city of Merkberry Valley, she has stocked her inventory and is ready for a new chapter. Standing proudly before her modest setup, she places her hands on her hips. With her preparations complete, it is time for the Fail shop to begin its first day of business. She begins by carefully draping a decorative cloth over her table. As she works, she decides it would be best to pass her items off as foreign goods to avoid the confusion that revealing their otherworldly origin would cause. A smile touches her lips as she admires the attractive jewelry and a fine dress, her excitement growing, especially for her featured product. Her thoughts turn to that special item, a time-keeping magic tool. She knows its value well. It is a rare artifact, as the method to produce them has been lost to time. Such tools are typically only found in the possession of heroes, within churches, or at the royal castle. With her precious goods neatly displayed, she beams with confidence. She is certain that customers will swarm to her stall for such rare finds. Clasping her hands together in delight, she joyfully announces that the Fail shop is now open. She stands ready, calling out to any potential customers to come and take a look. A diagram of the area, however, reveals her unfortunate situation. Her stall is positioned on the very outskirts of the market, far from the bustling central area. Her initial optimism quickly evaporates as time passes with no visitors. She slumps over her display case, defeated by the lack of interest. It is just as she feared. Being on the outskirts is a crippling disadvantage. Despite the setback, she forces a smile, trying to remain hopeful. She tells herself it is just a waiting game until customers arrive, though she can't help but lament that all the good spots in the central area were already taken, leaving no place for her. Making another attempt to draw attention, she calls out to a passing couple, pleading with them to please take a look at her wares. They continue on their way, ignoring her completely. A man who had been observing her stall finally approaches. He remarks that he has seen most of the shops in town, but doesn't recognize her, finding it odd for a stall to be so far out. His words trigger a stark realization for Christine. No one wants to risk approaching a stall run by an unknown merchant. She understands now that she needs a new plan. Her stall, specializing in foreign dresses and accessories, soon attracted its first potential customer. A distinguished older man approached, offering a polite welcome before asking if she was selling anything particularly unusual. He initially seemed skeptical, thinking it impossible for a simple stall to carry rare goods. But his attention was suddenly captured by an item in an open box, his expression shifting to one of intense curiosity. As he stared, Christine felt a surge of confidence. Her product knowledge skill confirmed the item's value, even if it didn't reveal its origin. The man then asked if he might appraise the object, to which she readily agreed, assuring him she handled nothing that would cause trouble upon inspection. Holding the item, he inquired about its price. After a brief pause, Christine stated it was 2 gold coins. The man reacted with shock, declaring that the price couldn't be right. He revealed it was a genuine time-keeping magic tool, worth at least 20 gold coins. Playing along with his surprise, she feigned embarrassment, claiming she had mixed it up with another item. With a smile, she accepted his valuation of 20 gold coins. As the transaction concluded, Christine realized that if she had sold it for the lower price, her fellow merchants would have branded the honest man a swindler. He, in turn, admitted he had accidentally offered double the purchase price, but noted the product's actual value was considered far higher. His integrity left her momentarily stunned. Back at her stall, the realization hit her. She was glad she'd noticed the true value early. She resolved to use her universal appraisal eye skill to revise all her prices, properly accounting for their added worth. A careful inspection of her inventory revealed a startling fact. Every item she had ordered possessed a magical enhancement, such as a jewel necklace that increased the wearer's charm. Understanding she couldn't sell them carelessly, she knew the task of appraising everything would take a great deal of time. After a long and arduous effort, she finally finished. Slumped over in exhaustion, she then straightened up with renewed determination, deciding to eat lunch and then implement a new strategy for the afternoon. She felt fully recovered and full of purpose. Standing before her stall, she decided that from this afternoon, she would begin selling a new category of products. The new items were sweets, something she believed everyone loves. This was her secret tactic. She reasoned that while people might be hesitant to approach unfamiliar items, food was different. These sweets, cream puffs, eclairs, and shortcakes she'd never seen before, didn't have special enhancements, so she could sell them simply for what they were. And they looked absolutely delicious. Putting her plan into action, she spotted 2 children nearby. "Hey, you kids over there," she called out, offering them something really good to eat. The children paused, one asking what it was while the other worried that they didn't have any money. Christine simply smiled, reassuring them that it was okay. She then revealed her offer, a free sample, just 1 bite. The children looked on in astonishment. The girl realized inwardly that this killer phrase was effective on children as well. As she presented the tray, the children marveled at the sweets they had never seen before. Christine explained that one was a cream puff and the other an eclair, identifying the brown topping as chocolate. Encouraged, they each took a sample. After a polite thank you, they took their first bite. A moment later, a loud, joyous cry of "delicious" erupted from the children. The sound was so enthusiastic it echoed through the market square, catching the attention of several passers-by, including the merchant appraiser who had visited her stall earlier. The boy, completely won over, began shouting for everyone to come and try a bite. The girl, equally excited, asked if she could sample another one she hadn't tried yet. The boy's exclamations about how super sweet and delicious the treat was continued to draw attention. Within moments, a small crowd of other children had gathered around her stall, all eager for a taste. Smiling warmly, Christine told them not to rush, assuring them that she had prepared plenty for everyone. She watches a little overwhelmed as the children excitedly shout that they'll get their fathers to buy the sweets. The strategy is working, and she realizes with a start just how terrifyingly effective the power of children can be. Her tactic proves successful as a couple approaches, asking what the children were eating with such glee. Christine explains that the basic principle of business is to take a small loss to gain a profit, revealing that luring in the children was a calculated move to attract adults. Just then, an intimidating, muscular man with a stern expression approaches, demanding to have a bite as well. The onlookers gasp, identifying him as Gourmet George, a notoriously strict food critic whose opinion determines the success or failure of local shops. Despite their panic, Christine calmly offers him a sample, stating the rule of 1 bite per person. He accepts the pastry, and Christine watches with quiet apprehension as the imposing man prepares to taste it. The moment he tastes it, his harsh demeanor vanishes, replaced by an expression of pure, unadulterated bliss. He is completely won over, marveling at the melty sweetness wrapped in fragrant pastry and exclaiming that he has never tasted anything so good. Without hesitation, he places an order for 4 cream puffs, much to Christine's delight. George's glowing review incites a frenzy. The onlookers are shocked, noting they've never seen the critic make such a face. Immediately, customers begin shouting large orders, demanding 10 cream puffs and 5 eclairs. The stall is swarmed, and Christine struggles to maintain order, yelling for everyone to form a line. Amidst the chaos, her resolve hardens. She knows that from this point on, it is the merchant's turn to act. She recognizes the need to limit quantities to ensure she can open daily and build a base of regular customers, rather than selling all her stock at once. She immediately implements her strategy. Holding up a sign that reads 5 items per person, she firmly but politely denies a fellow merchant's request for a wholesale order, stating that bulk buying is prohibited. She directs the flow of customers and finally announces that the fail shop is sold out for the day, asking everyone to look forward to tomorrow's stock. She looks over her completely sold-out stall, a sign proudly displayed. While she acknowledges that such incredible sales on her first day are a success, she can't help but feel she might have pushed a bit too hard. Her brief worry gives way to a surge of confidence. With her hands on her hips, she declares that this is a great start and that she will continue to sell much more. However, that initial excitement was fleeting. She now admits to herself that, despite being so fired up, she has made a serious miscalculation. Tossing and turning in bed, she agonizes over her mistake. She never expected to sell out completely just 3 days after opening, considering it a disgrace for a merchant to have to close shop due to a lack of stock. The fundamental problem, she reflects, is that restocking takes time. She has already been waiting 2 days. As she idly wishes for a magical same-day delivery service, her thoughts are interrupted by the distinct sound of an approaching carriage. Her hopes are answered as the masked merchant, Persona, greets her from beside his carriage. He announces his delivery from Shirley catalog mail order, explaining the carriage was necessary for so many packages. Overjoyed, Christine tells him she's been waiting and will immediately store the goods in her item box. He cautions her that with so many people watching the delivery, some may try to approach her directly for dealings. He then reassures her that it's impossible, as only special individuals like her, the grimoire's contractor, can trade with Shirley. Internally, Christine is flustered by his suave pose and cool voice, finding it both frustrating and charming. She wonders aloud if he means wicked merchants like the 10 buyers from Heroic Tales. Persona confirmed her business is going well, but reveals that it wasn't just townspeople buying her wares. Merchant from afar had also tried to buy out her entire stock, creating a terrible situation. She elaborates on the ordeal, explaining that those merchants aggressively pressed her to reveal her supplier and even her recipes. When she refused, they complained. She laments that as a stall vendor on the outskirts, she is already looked down upon by other merchants. He gestures toward the payments section of her ledger. Understanding her situation, he informs her that he will be waiting for her next order in the next town, as he intends to conclude his business here and depart tomorrow. He explains that the Shirley catalog mail order has a membership level system. As a customer's total purchase amount reaches certain thresholds, their level increases, granting them exclusive perks. He encourages Christine to keep up the good work as she is close to leveling up and hand her an additional catalog that can be used starting the day after tomorrow. Unfamiliar with the concept, she asks what leveling up even is. He clarifies that upon reaching the next level, she will gain the ability to use same-day shipping for an additional fee. Any orders placed before noon will arrive on that very day. Christine is astounded that such a magical service exists. When she asks what benefits come with each level, he playfully indicates that it's a secret. His teasing leaves Christine flustered, and she mutters in frustration that he has done it again. Unfazed, he simply confirms her unspoken thought with a quiet yes. With their business concluded, his carriage departs as he expresses anticipation for her next order. As he leaves, Christine announces to the public that her shop is sold out for the day and that this marks their final day of sales in Merkberry. Her customers wave goodbye, thanking her for the goods and urging her to return soon. After the crowd disperses, Christine begins to pack up her stall, reflecting that even after a short stay, goodbyes always feel lonely. Her solitary task is interrupted by the arrival of an ornate carriage. As it draws near, she recognizes the emblem on its door, the crest of the Lord of the Sarai territory. A woman with short, light hair and dressed in a pristine butler's uniform steps forward from the carriage. Addressing Christine directly, she introduces herself as Rosemary, the first butler of the Sarai family, and politely requests a moment of her time. Christine looks up, surprised by the sudden, formal visit. At a grand estate, a butler gestures for Christine fail to follow, informing her that his master, Smith Shatteries, wishes to meet with her. She recognizes the name, recalling that the Shatteries family are nobles who control the Royal Capital Military Affairs Bureau, and that she has seen the count at parties with her father. As she processes this, a well-dressed man with a mustache introduces himself as Smith Shatteries, stating that he couldn't refuse a request from the count himself. She realizes with a hint of disappointment that he does not seem to remember her, even though she recalls him being a valued customer of the Ars Trading Company. She formally introduces herself as Christina Fail with a polite curtsy. Now seated in a lavish room, Smith apologizes for the abrupt summons and explains that he has a request for her store. Christine asks what it is regarding. He gets straight to the point, stating that he has a daughter who will soon turn 16. Christine immediately understands, confirming that this is about the age for a social debut and, therefore, a debutante party. He explains the dire situation. He had ordered a special dress from a neighboring country, but the caravan carrying it was attacked by bandits and the dress was stolen. With the debutante ball in just 4 days, there is no time for a replacement to arrive. He asks desperately if she can make a new dress. He continues, revealing that he overheard maids who had visited her store talking about the unseen, beautiful garments and jewelry she handles. This rumor led him to her, and he asks directly if she might be able to prepare a dress for his daughter. Christine processes the request, her expression serious. After a moment, she consults a document and offers her sincere apologies, explaining that they are currently out of stock. She then asks him to please wait a moment. Just then, a young woman named Margaret peeks in, worriedly asking her father about her dress. The Count gently chides her for interrupting before turning back to Christine, defeated. He apologizes for the trouble and introduces the girl as his daughter, Margaret. Christine, in turn, apologizes for being unable to help. Christine observes the girl's anxious face. She understands the gravity of the situation. If the debutante fails, it will reflect poorly on the entire household of the Count. She pressed a hand to her forehead, the weight of the previous day's encounter settling heavily upon her. The memory of the young lady's plight, so similar to her own past suffering, had kept her awake all night. Though she felt there was nothing she could do, the situation gnawed at her, a persistent, troubling thought. Determined not to give up, she had spent the night poring over Shirley's magic tome, searching for any possible solution. Her eyes landed on a peculiar advertisement within the catalog, a support center with a contact number for opinions and requests. A spark of an idea ignited. The idea solidified into a plan. Clutching the tome, a wave of inspiration washed over her as she realized who she had to contact. Mr. Persona, she thought, a desperate hope in her voice. I have a request. Her mind raced, wondering how she could possibly reach him so quickly. She vaguely recalled tales from the hero's era of a lost art called mental transmission, but knew it wasn't a realistic option. Just then, a sharp knock echoed from her front door, startling her. Her eyes widened in disbelief. This can't be, she whispered, staring as the door swung open. Standing on her doorstep was the very man she had just been thinking of, Persona. Good morning, Lady Fail, he greeted smoothly. I have come as instructed by the support center. Flustered but relieved, she quickly invited him inside. Once they were seated, she explained her urgent need for merchandise as soon as possible. He listened patiently before delivering the unfortunate news. At her current member level, she could not use the same-day shipping command. Desperate, Christine clasped her hands together, pleading, Please, isn't there some way? I can't just stand by and do nothing. His professional demeanor softened slightly as he offered a workaround. He explained that he had goods from a recently canceled order with him. To reach member level 2 and unlock same-day shipping, she needed to purchase an additional 24 gold coins worth of merchandise. Doing so would ensure delivery by evening. A wave of relief and excitement washed over her. "Such a wonderful hidden trick," she exclaimed, grabbing his hands in her gratitude. Her sudden enthusiasm caught the masked merchant off guard. Forgive me," he stammered, slightly flustered. "I got a little too excited." Composing himself, he specified the items he had on hand. Celadon plates from famous workshop, animal grooming tools, and special feed used by tamers. Without a moment's hesitation, Christine declared, "Understood. I'll take it." She accepts the package from the merchant, persona, the emblem of the Shirley catalog retailer, marking the box. He offers a polite smile, glad that he could be of help. Clutching the box, a wave of relief washes over her. She realizes that with her member level now increased, she can finally prepare the dress. She turns back to him, offering her profuse thanks. With renewed urgency, she declares that it's time to get moving right away. As evening arrives, Christine reports to the Count's house that she can procure a dress. Afterwards, she takes the young lady's measurements, then returns to her workshop to order a suitable garment using the same-day shipping command. A knock sounds at her door, and assuming it's persona, she calls out that she's coming. However, the person at the door is not who she expected. A tall woman with pointed ears introduces herself as Shirley from the Sacred Mail Order Service, here to deliver the order. Christine is stunned, having been waiting so eagerly. Shirley explains that she handles same-day shipping and that her department is different from Mr. Persona's. She accepts the receipt, marveling at the efficiency. The thought that an order could truly arrive on the same day feels like magic. She decides to proceed with confirming the receipt. Looking up at the delivery woman, she explains that Mr. Persona has been a great help. She admits to making an unreasonable request, but he came up with a clever plan, leaving her feeling constantly in his debt. Shirley's smile widens. She teases Christine, pointing out that she has spoken of nothing but Persona since she arrived. With a playful tone, she offers to pass the same-day shipping duties to him if Christine would prefer, thinking to herself that she feels a bit sorry for having come. The suggestion throws Christine into a fluster. She waves her hands defensively, insisting that's not at all and that Shirley must not misunderstand. She was simply surprised. Shirley watches her, a hand covering her amused smile. Trying to regain her composure, she quickly changes the subject, insisting they must focus on the final touches and prepare for tomorrow. Internally, Shirley finds the flustered lady quite amusing as she confirms the payment and delivery are complete, looking forward to their next interaction. Standing before her and his anxious daughter, Count Chatteries expresses his doubt, asking Miss Fail if she was truly able to prepare a dress in such a short time, a feat he considered impossible. In response, she confidently throws open a set of doors, announcing that the Fail store fulfills its requests and beckoning them to look. The doors part to reveal an entire room filled with racks of beautiful dresses, a stunning and unexpected sight. Both the Count and his daughter gasp in astonishment at the sheer quantity of gowns. Christine explains that they also have shelves of shoes and accessories prepared, inviting them to take their time selecting, as all items have price tags. Overwhelmed with delight, Margaret's eyes sparkle as she takes in the selection. Her father, noticing her stunned silence, calls out her name in concern. She rushes to her father's side, her excitement bubbling over as she declares everything wonderful and begs him to buy it all. The Count, flustered, protests that he'll go bankrupt and insists she limit her choices to just 2 dresses with matching accessories. Clinging to him, she professes her love before looking up with pleading eyes, asking if at least 3 dresses would be acceptable. Her father, caught off guard, reluctantly agrees to 3. As Margaret and her father browse the selection with their butler, Christine watches with a knowing smile. She notes to herself how terrifyingly effective a young lady's technique of pleading with teary, upturned eyes will be in the future. He thanks Miss Fail sincerely, admitting he may be a doting fool, but he is grateful for her bringing back his daughter's smile. Margaret, holding one of her new garments, beams with pure joy, thinking to herself that Christine truly saved her. Count Chatteries expresses his profound gratitude, stating that for a father, his daughter's happiness is the most important thing. Christine accepts his thanks with a gentle smile. Just then, a woman in an elegant dark dress enters the room, asking if she might also be introduced to this merchant. He introduces the woman as his wife, Sylvia Chatteries. After Christine introduces herself, Sylvia explains that she has heard about the matter and also wishes to express her gratitude, before adding that she has a request of her own. She leans in conspiratorially toward an attentive Christine and whispers, asking if there might be a dress available in her size. The Count, overhearing this from behind them, is visibly startled. With a charming smile, she explains that the dresses are simply too lovely to pass up, and she'd like a new one for herself. Her husband interjects with exasperation, declaring that she is being unreasonable and that today is for Margaret, not her. He turns to Christine, seeking a way out of the situation. She calmly acknowledges that while the current selection was indeed prepared in his daughter's size, there might be other options. With a confident flourish, she reveals another rack of garments, announcing that they do, in fact, have other sizes available. He stares in disbelief, questioning why she would have prepared a dress for his wife as well. Christine, with a knowing wink, explains that anticipating a customer's needs is standard practice for a merchant. She recalls Lady Rose as a prime example, noting that when women see a beautiful dress, they often desire one for themselves. While his wife enthusiastically begins pointing out several dresses she likes, the Count weakly asks for some moderation. His plea is cut short when Christine reveals yet another surprise, a full rack of men's attire, prepared just for him. He is left utterly speechless. Defeated but impressed, he gratefully accepts. As the ladies enjoy themselves, Christine invites him for tea and cake as a thank you for their patronage, adding that they offer a discount for multiple purchases. The Count can only express his admiration for her sharp business acumen. As they sit for tea, his attention is captured by the beautiful plate the cake is served on. He remarks on its beauty and asks which craftsman made it. Christine informs him it is a piece of celadon, complimenting his discerning eye. Beaming with delight, Margaret remarks that this has turned into quite an expensive shopping trip. Her mother, Sylvia, looks on with a contented smile, her hand resting on an exquisite garment. The unseen Count agrees, adding that if the cost is merely to purchase the smiles of his daughter and wife, then it is nothing at all. At the elegantly set Chattery's family dining table, Christine sits as a guest of Count Smith Chattery's, his wife Countess Sylvia, and their daughter Margaret. The atmosphere is formal, a dinner meeting to discuss business. The Count raises his glass, thanking Christine for joining them. He compliments the fine quality of the Fail Store's products, noting that they live up to the rumors. His wife, Countess Sylvia, smoothly takes over the conversation. After acknowledging the quality, she pointedly asks if Christine has other accessories available, beyond those already prepared for their daughter. She insists that surely Ms. Fail must have something suitable for her as well. The Count elaborates on their need, explaining that both he and his wife plan to wear new attire for their daughter's upcoming debutante. He mentions that while the Countess owns plenty of accessories, their designs are old and will not match her new dress, expressing a hope that Ms. Fail might be able to help. Seizing on this, the Countess presses her advantage, asking what Christine will say and urging her to prepare something wonderful that will inspire envy. Christine politely apologizes, stating she is afraid she cannot fulfill such a request. The Count interjects, gently scolding his wife for making unreasonable demands and putting their guest in a difficult position, to which the Countess retorts, asking if he is drunk. Her pointed words and the mounting pressure cause Christine's demeanor to shift. Her eyes narrow, flashing with a sharp, determined glint. With newfound resolve, she throws open a series of cases on the table, revealing a brilliant collection of jewelry. With a wide, confident smile, she triumphantly exclaims, "We do." She inwardly rejoices, recognizing this as the perfect moment she had been waiting for to unveil her secret star product, the final hidden gem. The sudden presentation leaves both the Count and Countess stunned into silence. The item that has captured their attention is a magnificent black pearl necklace. The Countess stares, wondering what it could be. She realizes this is the perfect chance. She had deliberately held this item back during the initial dress selection, suspecting the Count would refuse it due to the high expense. The Countess is captivated, remarking on its elegant, jet-black shine, the likes of which she has never seen. Equally impressed, the Count wastes no time, turning to his butler, Rosemary, and issuing a sharp command. "Call the appraiser at once." The appraiser he summoned examines the black pearl with a practiced eye, a bead of sweat on his temple. He declares his astonishment, confirming that the pearls are all genuine and, remarkably, that the asking price is considerably cheaper than their appraised value. He stammers out the price, 20 blue gold coins. The Count recoils in shock at the sum. Christine calmly explains that the black pearls originate from a foreign country called Tahiti, a place the Countess has never heard of. The Count, flustered, protests that it's impossible, as they have already far exceeded their budget. His wife, however, is utterly captivated. She dismisses his concerns, stating they have no choice but to buy the necklace at such a bargain price, as it will undoubtedly add splendor to their daughter's debut. She turns to him with a dazzling smile, calling him darling. Their daughter, Margaret, chimes in enthusiastically, agreeing that it suits her mother perfectly. She encourages her father, questioning when else they should show off if not for her own grand occasion. With the matter settled, the Countess places the necklace around Margaret's neck, admiring how wonderful she looks. She then proposes a new arrangement to Christine. In exchange for the necklace, they will offer an item of equal value from their family's treasures. Margaret happily agrees to the terms. Following this agreement, Christine is led into the Chattery's family's collection room. She reflects that receiving a treasured family item seems more valuable than a simple payment. A butler stands by as she is invited to choose any item she likes. Her attention is immediately drawn to a set of two statues, an ebony dragon and a crystal unicorn, marked as appraisal impossible. She feels a strange warmth emanating from them, a sense of protection. Realizing they must possess a value beyond normal expectations, she decides to take them as a travel charm. 3 days after she received the precious statues, the delivery and exchange are formally concluded. Christine stands with the pleased Chattery's family and her associate, Rosemary, the transaction a clear success. Time passes, and the day of the debutante party arrives. The grand ballroom of the Chattery's estate is filled with nobles mingling under glittering chandeliers. Before the assembled guests, Margaret Chatteries makes her formal entrance, radiant in her gown and the black pearl necklace. She thanks everyone for gathering and graciously invites them to relax and enjoy themselves, as her proud father looks on. From behind a curtain, Christine Arist watches the debutante ball unfold. As Lady Margaret makes her entrance, Christine is struck by her beauty. She reflects on her own disastrous debut, feeling that seeing Margaret's success is a reward for her own past hardships. Having attended at the Count's invitation, she decides to remain in the back to avoid any troublesome encounters with acquaintances. Meanwhile, at the center of the hall, Count and Countess Chatteries stand proudly with their daughter, Margaret. The Count thanks all the guests for taking the trouble to attend. Her mother, Countess Sylvia Chatteries, draws the admiration of the other ladies. They compliment her wonderful dress and the exceedingly rare black pearl necklace she wears. With a sly smile, the Countess reveals only that she purchased it from a wonderful merchant, declaring the method of acquisition a secret. As the hosts mingle, attention turns back to the debutante herself. A young man named Walder, eldest son of the Sanner baronet family, asks Margaret for a dance. Before she can answer, another suitor, Frederick, second son of Viscount Carlban, interjects, suggesting she dance with him instead. From her vantage point, Christine wryly notes that the exhibition of young lords vying for favor has begun. A third suitor, Zeers of the Condensa Count family, poetically invites Margaret to turn the hall into a flower garden with him. Margaret, however, politely declines all their offers, stating she is sorry but looks forward to dancing with her own chosen partner. The two rejected suitors, Walder and Frederick, accept her refusal with grace. One remarks that it is proper manners to withdraw smoothly, while the other compliments Margaret's refined handling of the situation. This display of decorum is a stark contrast to the arrival of Christine's own foolish elder brother, Ostel. Spotting her in the corner, he approaches with a smug grin, introducing himself as the second son of the Aris Marquee family and asking her for a dance. He is visibly shocked when she refuses. With a condescending tone, he questions her decision, pointedly reminding her that he is from the powerful Marquis Arist family. His blatant use of rank as a shield does not go unnoticed. Count Chatteries observes with a grimace, thinking of the unspoken rule that forbids insulting the debutante's family or guests. Witnessing her brother's boorish behavior, Christine covers her face, recoiling in utter embarrassment. She could only stammer an apology as Ostel Arist continued his tirade. He declared her refusal unacceptable, demanding to know why he, a man from a Marquis family, would not be a suitable partner. As he pressed her, Christine's mind flashed back to a private conversation. From behind a curtain, she had tried to explain her reasoning to Margaret Chatteries, who, while agreeing that Lord Oster would not do, demanded she explain herself properly. In that prior moment, the young debutante had been quite clear in her own assessment, stating plainly that Lord Oster was simply not her type at all. The memory of that private rejection, however, did nothing to soften the public one. Ostel stood dumbfounded by Christine's refusal, his confusion palpable as other guests looked on in shock. Meanwhile, Margaret herself had moved on, politely excusing herself from another suitor. She explained that her ideal type was a well-built man with a beard, much like her father, causing a nearby bearded guest to flush with surprise. From her hiding spot, Christine noted how merciless Margaret could be. At the same time, Ostel seethed, considering it an unforgivable insult to be refused by a commoner, an act he felt ruined the debutante's party. As his fury peaked, his father, Bluza Arist, arrived at his side. His father immediately took him to task, questioning if Ostel even understood what he had done. Bluza reasoned that for a commoner like Christine to act so boldly, she must be ignorant of noble ranks, and that such a public scene would surely bring shame upon their host, Count Chatteries. He then ordered his son not to escalate the situation. Bluza declared that he would apologize to the Count personally and instructed Ostel to go home ahead of him. The command did little to quell the young man's disgraceful, defiant attitude. He turned away, muttering in disbelief. Ostel could not comprehend why he, a member of a Marquis family, should have to humble himself before commoners. Sometime later, after the debutante ball had successfully concluded, Count Chatteries found Christine waiting alone in a drawing room. He approached her, apologizing for the delay. She sat opposite Count Chatteries in a private room, the tension from the earlier events having subsided. The Count expressed his gratitude, acknowledging that her presence had made the atmosphere more amiable. He also thanked her for her continued patronage, referencing the ice cream purchase. He then informed her of his plans to depart the city that very night. With the debutante's success, he felt he had no regrets left. More importantly, he revealed that when he had spoken of her work, a certain influential person had become quite interested. Surprised by his imminent departure, Christine asked him to wait a moment. As she wondered who this interested party could be, a servant announced that some visitors wished to greet the promising merchant before their carriage left in 10 minutes. Christine agreed to have him brought in. Count Chatteries led her to a doorway and began the introduction. He presented her as Christina Fail, from the Fail store, who had been instrumental to the debutante's success. A sudden realization struck Christine. Judging by the Count's deferential tone, The person they were meeting had to be a noble of a higher rank than a count. The only possibility among the guests sent a chill down her spine. Her fears were confirmed. Standing before her was Bluza Arist, the marquee of the Arist family, a merchant patronized by the hero in the royal capital. The shock was immense. She was face to face with the father of Ostel, the man who had caused such a scene. Her mind reeled, an internal cry escaping her. As I thought, Father. Having concluded his business, Bluza Arist takes his leave from a group of merchants, asking them to take their time with their own discussions. He then turns his attention to his daughter, Christine. He sits opposite her in the quiet, formal room. A heavy silence hangs between them as they face each other. Christine's hands fidget nervously in her lap. She realizes that since her disownment was done with his agreement, she is now Christine Fail. A sense of awkwardness washes over her as she wonders what business he could possibly have with her now, fearing he has come only to offer some final, parting words. Her father breaks the silence, acknowledging her new name. He expresses his relief at seeing her well, admitting that he had been worried about her. Christine, looking slightly flustered, confirms that she is using her mother's clan name and tells him it is also a relief to see that he is well. He begins to explain, starting with a sincere apology for being unable to stop the disownment. Bluza clarifies that he was away on business and never imagined they would proceed with the matter in his absence. By the time he returned, the official notification had already been processed by the House of Peers. He continues, revealing that he never truly agreed to it, but his words were interpreted that way. He explains that ever since the hero's summoning was decided, the arrogance of Lady Rose and her father had grown, and he was under immense pressure from them to disown Christine. Moved by his honesty, Christine quickly tells him to raise his head. She insists that she is the one who should be sorry, admitting she should have been more attentive to the difficult position he was in. Bluza looks at his daughter, his expression softening. He remarks that her current life, free from the stifling house and able to travel, seems enjoyable and isn't so bad. Christine smiles warmly, thinking to herself that just hearing his explanation is enough for her. He is still the kind father she always knew. She holds up a hand, showing him a ring on her finger, and assures him that she still treasures it. Relieved, Bluza confirms it is a family heirloom he left for her and is glad that Jester, the butler, delivered it. He then asks if she also received the deed to the villa in Owen territory, his tone shifting to worry as he questions where she is living now, fearing Lady Rose might have interfered and left her with little. Christine calmly replies that she is staying at a town inn. Her father reacts with dramatic alarm, his noble sensibilities aghast. He frets aloud about her well-being, questioning if she can even sleep properly in such a place, and worrying about drafts. He continues to worry, insisting that it's natural for a father to be concerned for his daughter. With a gentle smile, Christine reminds him that she has been disowned. His attention shifts to the items she has presented. He questions where she procured such rare things, identifying a bottle of liquor he's never seen and a magic tool that marks time, once possessed by a hero. He also asks when she learned to use a magical item box, to which Christine playfully replies that it's a secret. He decides not to press the matter, stating he will gratefully accept the gifts. In response, Christine explains that she became acquainted with a merchant from a foreign land, and it was through this connection that she was able to arrange everything for the debutante party. He listens, then expresses his regret for not being able to do anything for her previously. As a small atonement, he wants to do something that benefits her now and asks how he might contact her in the future to place an order. She urges him not to say he couldn't do anything, explaining that the person she is today is thanks to the opportunity he gave her to learn about business. Just knowing he feels for her is more than enough. She clarifies her current situation. As an individual merchant with a caravan, she travels to various places. Because of this, she cannot make any promises, but suggests that if they happen to meet again somewhere, they can connect at that time. Hearing her words, her father pulls her into a firm, heartfelt embrace. He gently strokes her hair, telling her to never forget that he will always pray for her safety. With their business concluded, he prepares to leave. Just then, the Eastern merchant approaches, asking if Ms. Fail's discussion is finished. Christine confirms and bids the Marquis Arist farewell. The merchant explains that as an individual caravan, it is difficult for him to maintain continuous transactions with the Marquis. Christine offers a solution, promising to arrange for the Marquis to be contacted whenever the merchant's caravan visits the town. He agrees to her proposal. Looking at her thoughtfully, he remarks that he thought he recognized her from their first meeting, but seeing her standing next to the Marquis confirmed his suspicion. He smiles, observing how much she has grown up. In a different part of the city, Dahlia presents a special permit, explaining that it will grant the holder the treatment of a noble within the town. She offers her assurance, stating that she is their ally. As the recipient departs, she clutches a token from the exchange to her chest, her expression filled with sincere gratitude as she thanks them profusely. Later that night, under a full moon, she gazes over the sparkling cityscape. With this valuable connection made, she feels ready to depart for the next town without any regrets. The scene shifts abruptly to a lavish room where 4 individuals are gathered. One of them, a young man with spiky hair, slams his hands on a table, wailing that he can't go on any longer without something sweet to eat. His companion with glasses, Tatsuya Ogata, the hero, tells him to quiet down, complaining that the outburst made him forget a spell he was memorizing. Immediately, the young woman, Ruka Yuzuki, the archmage, joins the lament, crying out for cakes, cream puffs, and pastries. The third man, Shogo Kinokuniya, the saint, admits he also feels like screaming, noting that their irritable mood is understandable given their current lifestyle. The spiky-haired youth, Kunihiko Takeda, the great sage, adds that he just wants to play games. Ruka reflects on their situation. It has been half a month since they were summoned as heroes to save this world. She recalls thinking it would be fun to be pampered, but the daily grind of studying has pushed her to her limit. Tatsuya complains about the monotonous food, always just bread and simple side dishes, expressing how much he misses Japanese cuisine. He voices a grim thought. Though they can return home after defeating the demon clan, he feels they'll all break down before that happens. Adjusting his glasses with a determined look, Shogo agrees, stating he is also fed up with the local meals. He declares that since meals are directly linked to motivation, he has decided to take action. He reveals his plan. He recalled the merchant introduced to them by the king, who is patronized by the hero. Believing this merchant could procure the items they desire, Shogo had him summoned. Kunihiko and Ruka gasp in disbelief and excitement. As they are led through the mansion, the hero's anticipation is palpable. A maid announces that the merchant has arrived, and she will guide them to the reception room. Kunihiko exclaims that at this point, he'll take anyone he can rely on, while Ruka voices her skepticism, wondering aloud if they can really trust a shady, chubby merchant. The merchant who greets them is a young man with a confident smile. He introduces himself as Ostel of the Ars Trading Company's southern branch and warmly invites the heroes to state the items they desire. Without hesitation, Ruka is the first to speak, eagerly requesting ice cream, cake, and chocolate. Tatsuya follows, stating that essential from their world are needed, specifically white rice, miso soup, and umebashi. The requests continue as Shogo asks for a replacement suit and 10 pairs of underwear, specifying they must be 100% cotton. Kunihiko then excitedly lists his own needs: pizza, cola, a smartphone charger, and spare parts for his gaming device, which he notes is about to lose power. After listening to their varied and unusual list, Ostel calmly states that he understands. To the hero's collective shock, he promises to deliver everything within 3 days. Their shock quickly turns to elation. Kunihiko and Ruka are overcome with joy at his efficiency, seeing it as a ray of light in their otherwise gray life in this new world and eagerly looking forward to the delivery. He reassures them with a confident smile, confirming they have plenty in stock and telling them to wait at ease. Tatsuya expresses his surprise that Ostel can actually prepare such items, stating that they are counting on him. Shogo then reiterates his specific request, asking Ostel to ensure there's no mistake with the 100% cotton. Later, at his company's branch office, Ostel instructs his vice branch manager, Martini, to prepare everything for delivery in 3 days. He privately gloats, imagining the jealous fury of Grandrai from the main store upon learning that the southern branch received such a large and prestigious order. His face twists into a cunning sneer as he reveals his true ambition. By getting into the hero's good graces, he will solidify his position as the legitimate heir of the Arist family, declaring that his high and mighty eldest brother, Grandrai, is finished. Composing himself, he reports to an unseen party that the heroes were very pleased. As a result, he confirms they were able to receive the order. His report delivered. Ostel listens as his father, Bluza Arist, seated at a table with the family, offers a rare compliment, calling it a credit to him for once. Bluza continues, stating that he has reassessed Ostel, impressed that he had gathered items the heroes would likely want in advance. Beside him, Ostel's elder brother, Grandrai, adds that he was quite well prepared. Ostel explains with a confident smile that he can't afford to lag behind his elder brother. This declaration startles Bluza. Christine then cheerfully interjects, revealing that the preparations were her doing and that the stock should be sufficient. She clarifies that her job as the face of a southern branch is merely to receive orders, delegating miscellaneous tasks to the vice branch manager. Her casual attitude prompts Bluza to sharply question if she properly confirmed the inventory. His attention snaps back to Ostel, who stands silently. Bluza's brow furrows as he demands to know what the problem is. He explodes in anger, calling Ostel a fool and berating him for neglecting to confirm inventory. He fumes that there was no way to know what the heroes would want and no guarantee the items were in stock. Meanwhile, Christine recalls instructing the disowned girl to make preparations based on past orders, even before the summoning. Lady Rose, alarmed, orders Christine to check the inventory immediately, warning her of the consequences of a promise she can't keep. Bluza then invokes the harsh family motto: useless merchants, even family, are to be cut off. The threat registers on Christine's face, and she declares she'll go check at once. As Christine rushes out, Lady Rose turns to Grandrai with a sigh, remarking that her daughter seems to possess no wit except for the malicious kind. Grandrai then addresses his father, offering assistance, but advising him to let Ostel fulfill his responsibilities for now. He states his desire to avoid tarnishing the Ars Trading Company's name. Though she appeared panicked, Christine's true purpose solidifies in her mind as she runs. She realizes she must use this situation to ascertain Ostel's true talent as a merchant. Within the Arist Merchant Company warehouse, Ostel paces with a worried expression. He reassures himself that the inventory for the hero's order must be there somewhere. His frantic search is interrupted by the arrival of Vice Branch Manager Martini. Ostel grabs the man, demanding to know if the products on the order sheet he provided are ready, while simultaneously ordering his subordinates to search every corner more thoroughly. Martini reports that they have searched the entire warehouse, and even the warehouse managers have no idea. There isn't a single item in stock. Ostel stands frozen, his face paling in shock at the news. The man apologetically explains that there isn't even a record of the items being received. Ostel erupts in fury, grabbing Martini and demanding how he, the vice branch manager, could be unaware of the inventory status when Ostel himself had accepted the order believing the goods were present. His fists tremble with rage. He realizes it's unacceptable for the company serving the heroes to have no stock. He internally curses Christine, blaming her disappearance for the failure in procurement and fearing that his father will abandon him and his brother Grandrai will look down on him. A sudden, dark idea strikes him. He turns to Martini and commands the nervous vice manager to lend him a hand and follow his instructions precisely. A sinister smile forms on his face as he solidifies his plan. He will have Christine take the blame. He coldly reasons that she was just a woman with mixed elf blood, so her status couldn't possibly fall any further. Later, at the family dinner table with his father, Bluza, and his elder brother, Grandrai, Ostel prepares to make his case. He formally addresses his father, stating he has a report regarding the previous day's matter. He begins his false report with a grave tone, announcing that a terrible truth has been uncovered. While the goods were delivered to the warehouse, Christine had embezzled them. Ostel elaborates on his lie, claiming that only delivery slips were found and the items were never entered into the procurement ledger, which he posits was Christine's scheme. He paints her as a disgruntled runaway, unfit to be a merchant, who fled with the goods out of spite for being disowned. His father and Lady Rose react with utter shock and dismay. His father, Bluza Arist, calmly states that he understands the situation. Across from him, Ostel smirks, thinking to himself that the fake delivery slips prepared by Vice Branch Manager Martini are perfect and should be enough to fool everyone. He continues, instructing Ostel to explain to the heroes that the delivery is delayed due to a stock shortage. Then, based on those fabricated delivery slips, he is to proceed with reordering immediately. The command catches Ostel completely off guard. His smug expression dissolves into pure panic as he stammers, questioning the order to reorder. Before he can spiral further, his older brother, Grandrai, interjects with cold logic. He points out that if one has delivery slips, placing additional orders is the natural next step, questioning if that simple fact hadn't occurred to Ostel. He reminds him that the problem isn't solved just because Christine is gone. He presses the point, quizzing his sweating Ostel on procedure. Grandrai asks if he is aware that documents are invalid without the supplier's signature and, crucially, Christine's delivery confirmation seal. With Ostel's flawed logic exposed, Bluza addresses his younger son with finality, telling him he must fulfill his duties properly. He then declares that he will handle Christine's matter personally. His father's words leave no room for argument. Defeated and trembling, Ostel can only manage a meek agreement. Later, having taken matters into his own hands, Bluza Arist stands in the royal court before the king. The monarch greets him warmly, dismissing the need for formality and asking what business brings him. Bowing with a hand to his chest, Bluza pardons his intrusion and expresses his hope that the king is in good spirits. The king, seated on his throne, observes that Bluza's expression is grim and does not seem to bring good news. Bluza confirms this, beginning to explain that due to an error, an urgent delivery for the heroes has become impossible. He bows his head slightly, taking full responsibility. He states that he has come as the chairman of the Ars Trading Company to apologize and make a request regarding a blunder made by his foolish son, the Southern Branch Manager. He asks that the heroes be informed that their delivery will be delayed. The king stroked his chin, finding the situation troubling. He recalled how overjoyed the heroes were about their order, and a vision of their furious reaction to a delay filled his mind. Bluza Arist spoke up, mentioning that he had obtained a rare item. He reasoned that it would be difficult to deliver the bad news empty-handed, and a special gift might serve as a useful distraction. He then presented a dark bottle, proposing it as the gift. He explained that it was a medicinal liquor from a foreign land, attesting that a small cup each night had remarkably improved his own health. The king's face lit up with relief. He declared that Bluza had saved the situation with such a rare item, and immediately gave orders to summon the heroes, instructing Bluza to attend and handle the explanation. Moments later, the four heroes were assembled. Ruka Yuzuki asked the king what was happening, while Tatsuya Ogata wondered aloud if their ordered items had finally arrived. From his throne, the king looked down upon them and delivered the news directly. He offered his apologies, explaining that due to an error, their delivery would be delayed. The announcement was met with a collective gasp of shock. Their shock quickly turned to outrage. Kunihiko Takeda demanded to know when his Chaco was coming, and Ruka Yuzuki asked about the pizza and cola. The king held up his hands, urging them to calm down and announcing he had prepared a gift as an apology. At that moment, Bluza stepped forward with a tray holding the bottle and 4 small cups. He introduced himself and deeply apologized for the inconvenience. Tatsuya Ogata's eyes narrowed. He recognized the liquor as Yakuyo Imishu, remarking that his former gang leader used to drink it. Ruki Yuzuki, however, was unimpressed. She noted that it didn't look sweet, and, being alcohol, she had no interest in it. Kunihiko Takeda, on the other hand, leaned in with a curious expression, musing that perhaps the dark color could at least evoke the feeling of cola. Tatsuya Ogata took the bottle for a closer look. He expressed his surprise, impressed that they could procure goods from his world, and pointed out the recent manufacturing date on the label. As he spoke, the king's expression shifted to one of dawning shock. As the king reeled from the revelation, Tatsuya Ogata confirmed Bluza Arist's unspoken question. He explained that the bottle contained a product from his world, famous for its nourishing properties and for addressing Mibio, a state of suboptimal health. He covered his mouth, a realization dawning on him. The fact that the item was physically here was the best proof. He admitted to himself that he had suspected it was impossible to obtain exact products from their world, even if this realm could create things close to their wishes. This realization electrified the other heroes. Kunihiko Takeda exclaimed that it was a definitive sign. Tatsuya, ever the strategist, calmly told his companions to trust the situation and wait. As the heroes conferred, Bluza Arist turned back to the throne room, addressing the silent king. He pleaded with his majesty to wait just a little longer. The king finally spoke, his voice heavy with implication. He asked what this meant, confirming his understanding that the liquor was not a counterfeit, but the genuine article from another world. He leaned forward, his mind racing. The label, he noted, was written in the hero's native language, a script for which the analytical documents had been lost long ago, making it indecipherable to anyone in the kingdom. The king's gaze sharpened, pinning Bluza in place. He declared that it should be impossible for real, otherworldly goods to enter their world, and sternly demanded to know who had brought the liquor there. Under the weight of the royal command, Bluza Arist confessed. He explained that he had received the liquor from his disowned daughter, Christine Fail, when they met at the Chattery's debutante party. She had claimed to have purchased it from a foreign merchant traveling in an independent caravan. He concluded by requesting discretion on the matter. The king considered this new information. He decided he would not inquire about the disownment, shifting his focus to a more pressing issue: the need to acquire more goods from the other world to appease the heroes and overcome the current national crisis. His decision made, he pointed directly at the marquee, his voice ringing with authority. He commanded Bluza Arist to make contact with Christine Fail and to identify the foreign merchant who was selling these otherworldly goods. Bowing deeply before the throne, Marquis Bluza Arist accepts the royal command without hesitation. He straightens, his mind already racing. The identity of this foreign merchant is now a matter of state, and the fact that his own daughter, Christine, possessed otherworldly goods complicates everything. He turns and walks away with a sense of urgency. There are countless things he needs to ask her. If she truly has a connection to the other world, it is an incredibly significant development. His thoughts drift across the distance, consumed by a single, pressing question. Where is Christine now? Far from the capital, Christine Arist herself stands in a bustling town square, a look of focused determination on her face as she reviews a document. She is conducting an inspection. Having reached a post town after a week-long carriage journey from Merkberry, she now stands before a merchant's wagon, ready to receive her order. She thanks the masked merchant, Persona, for delivering to such a remote location. He confirms the inspection is complete, noting that it took a while due to the size of her order, and reassures her that Shirley's catalog will deliver to the very ends of the earth. Persona then informs her that since her transaction exceeded a certain limit, she is now considered a valued customer. He presents her with a commemorative gift and a new, limited-time catalog. Addressing her as Lady Feel, he thanks her for her patronage, leaving Christine overjoyed and surprised. He then leans in closer, asking if she happened to acquire any antiques in the previous town. The pointed question catches Christine off guard, and she looks up at him, flustered. She confirms that she does have what she received from Count Chattery's for the Black Pearl necklace, revealing 2 small statues, one of a dragon and one of a unicorn. A look of understanding crosses Persona's face. As I thought, he says, advising her to treasure them, for they will become her strength in time. He inquired if she would be staying for a while. Christine, clasping her hands, replied that she would not. In 2 days, she explained, she planned to head for a port town called Sarai on the next scheduled carriage. He acknowledged her plans with a simple, I understand. Changing the subject to a lighter one, Persona noted that food is one of the great joys of travel, a sentiment that immediately sparked Christine's enthusiasm. Her face lit up as she exclaimed that she had heard of a famous seafood dish in Sarai called the Hero Bowl and was determined to try it. With a polite bow, Persona wished her a safe journey and expressed his hope for future business. He also acknowledged her other purpose for the trip, to visit her mother's grave in a nearby elf village, a place she hadn't been to in 3 years. As a carriage waited, a look of peaceful contemplation settled on Christine's face. After 2 more days of leisurely running her shop, she set her plans in motion. The journey by scheduled carriage began, taking her away from the town. Her travels continued until, finally, the sparkling sea came into view. Peering out from the carriage, she took a deep breath, a smile spreading across her face as she recognized the distinct smell of the seashore. She had arrived in the port town of Sarai. Gazing upon the sprawling port town nestled against the water, her heart swelled with anticipation. She wondered what kind of encounters awaited her in this new place, unable to contain her excitement for the adventures to come. At the Châtelet's Count's estate, Count Smith Shatteries confirms a startling fact to the hero, Tatsuya Ogata. The medicinal liquor they had received from Miss Fail and subsequently gifted to Tatsuya was, indeed, a product from another world. Because of this revelation, the Count declares their new mission, to secure the goods the hero desires. To do so, he explains, they must track down the foreign merchant who originally supplied Christine with the otherworldly liquor. Seated across from him, Tatsuya inquires about the progress of their investigation, specifically asking about the merchant inspection records. The Count affirms that they have already checked all relevant record from the time Miss Fail was staying in Merkberry. He then delivers the disappointing results. Stating the conclusion up front, Tatsuya reports that their search of the records yielded no trace of any merchant who could have been her supplier. The Count reacts with sharp disbelief, his voice rising as he declares such a thing impossible. He insists that no one can enter the country without passing a mandatory identification check at the inspection points. At that moment, the butler, Rosemary, steps forward with a report, having gathered information from vendors and the commercial guild. As he listens, the Count considers a new, startling possibility. Could Christine herself possess a skill that allows her to procure items from another world? She dismisses the Count's theory, her expression firm. Rosemary reports that eyewitnesses saw a strangely dressed merchant visiting Miss Fail's lodging and stall. The image of the unique merchant and Christine confirms her belief that this mysterious figure is the correct lead. The conversation shifts to strategy. Tatsuya suggests that tracking Christine's movements would be more reliable than a blind search for the elusive merchant. Rosemary adds a baffling detail. Witnesses claim the merchant and his carriage vanished in an instant. The Count, processing this, deduces Christine's likely route, noting she left via the south gate and is probably headed for the port town of Sarai or westward to the Forest City Phantasm. Very well, the Count decides, we'll head to Sarai first. But as he gives the order, a sudden, disorienting wave of dizziness strikes him, his vision swimming. Rosemary immediately moves to his side, her voice filled with concern. The Count clutches his head, apologizing for his state and admitting to recent bouts of dizziness and fatigue. He then raises a difficult question, asking Tatsuya if there is any way to request assistance from Lord Ostel. The Count reviewed the damning evidence with a heavy hand to his brow. The documents confirmed it. Forgeries created in collusion between his rival, Ostel, and the deputy manager of the southern branch. Elsewhere, Marquis Arist confronted his son, Ostel, informing him that the deputy manager, Martini, was now under house arrest. As Ostel clenched his fist in fury, the Marquis delivered the sentence: severe punishment and house arrest, a merciful fate compared to being disowned. Ostel could only stare back, utterly stunned. His shock curdled into pure rage. He seethed, questioning why he had to suffer and blaming everyone for dragging him down. In his mind, the fault lay squarely with Christine for not doing her job properly. He silently cursed her name, vowing to never grant her forgiveness. Back in his office, as a defeated Ostel departed, Count Shatteries remarked to Tatsuya Ogata that the word foolish didn't even begin to cover the young man's actions. As their meeting concluded, Tatsuya thanked the Count for the valuable information and wished him success. The Count affirmed that he would take full responsibility for handling the matter and must remain focused. With a final word of farewell, Tatsuya departed. Far from the capital's political turmoil, the coastal city of Port Town, Sarai, glittered under the night sky. It was here that Christine had arrived after a long journey. With a contented smile, she recalled completing the necessary procedures of the commercial guild. Her original plan had been to open her new shop at a leisurely pace. However, her plans for a quiet opening were immediately dashed. Her stall was an instant, overwhelming success, with a long queue of eager customers forming. To manage the crowd, she had to implement quantity limits, announcing a maximum of 5 items per person. The customers were ecstatic. One man eagerly requested a set of beautiful, high-quality teaware. A woman declared she would buy 3 dresses and 2 accessories, while another man confirmed he was there to purchase a timekeeping magic tool he'd heard about. With her work for the day a resounding success, Christine's thoughts turned to dinner. Clutching a bowl of the town's famous specialty, the Hero Bowl, she decided it was time to return to the inn, already knowing what she wanted to eat. She stared in disbelief, the words echoing in her mind. The Hero Bowl doesn't exist? Her shock gave way to disappointment as she stood before the shopkeeper. She had been so looking forward to trying it. The woman explained apologetically that they were no longer serving the Hero Bowl because they couldn't acquire the 3 necessary ingredients anymore. She pressed on, demonstrating her knowledge of the dish. She identified the ingredients as rice, the vinegar used to season it, and the soy sauce for the sashimi. The shopkeeper seemed impressed by her familiarity with the recipe. The woman then began to recount the history of the dish. The methods for making rice, vinegar, and soy sauce were once passed down in a village to the northeast, a tradition taught to them by the hero himself. However, one day, monsters overflowed from the nearby forest dungeon. She continued the grim tale, explaining that by the time the national army arrived, the village had been completely wiped out, its fields burned to ash. Others tried to replicate the vinegar and soy sauce, but they failed. With the seed rice, known as tanimomi, also gone, it became impossible to make the dish ever again. Hearing this, Christine's face filled with sorrow and anger. She declared that the monsters were absolutely unforgivable, echoing a famous saying of the hero. The shopkeeper sighed, stating that because of this tragedy, there was nothing more they could do, and suggested she try one of their other seafood dishes. Later, sitting alone on her bed, she sighed in frustration. The other dishes had been delicious, she admitted to herself, but she couldn't give up on the hero bowl. She had dreamed of this specialty ever since she first heard of it. Lying back, she imagined the taste: freshly cooked rice, fragrant vinegar, and rich soy sauce over fresh seafood. The thought of how delicious it must be made her clutch her stomach in longing. Suddenly, an idea sparked. She sat bolt upright at her desk, a determined look on her face. She realized that if she could just find the 3 ingredients, the hero bowl could be revived. Her mind raced, recalling the standard product pages and the seasonal catalog within Shirley's grimoire. Her hunch paid off. Flipping through the grimoire, she found them listed: rice vinegar, soy sauce, and even dashi soy sauce. A wide, triumphant smile spread across her face. As expected of Shirley's grimoire, the ingredients were there. She decided to give in to her desires just this once, her excitement palpable. Using the same-day shipping command, the rare ingredients would arrive by tomorrow evening. Her plan was simple: transfer the goods into a jar she bought at a stall to disguise their otherworldly origin, then give them to the innkeeper to prepare. She could hardly wait. The next day, before opening her new shop, she set up a table outside and decided to check her product inventory. She accessed her item box, a personal storage space. She marveled at its convenience. The item box functioned like a tiny warehouse, automatically sorting its contents by category with just a thought. She also recalled recently learning about an additional function called partition. This partition feature made day-to-day stock management incredibly easy by allowing her to divide the catalog. As she was contemplating its usefulness, a voice suddenly addressed her, correctly identifying her as the shop owner of Fail Shop. The speaker, a young noblewoman named Clare Eisenborg, boldly declared her intention to buy everything in the shop. Christine, taken aback, pointed out that they weren't even open yet. 2 rough-looking men accompanying Clare stepped forward, questioning Christine's refusal to sell. Unfazed, Christine tried to explain her store's policy: a limit of 5 items per person, with no bulk buying allowed. With a knowing wink, Clare seemed to give her companions a signal. The 2 men immediately became more aggressive, warning Christine not to underestimate their lady and that she would regret it if she didn't comply. They then began to loudly broadcast Clare's history. They shouted that back in their homeland, the Camembert Kingdom, she had abused the power of the Eisenborg Count family and became infamous as a wicked villainess at her academy. Her reputation became so terrible, they explained, that her engagement to a marquis's eldest son was annulled, and she was expelled from her own family. Yet she remained arrogant and clueless. As her retainers continued their tirade, Clare's composure broke, and she began to cry. One of the men immediately chastised the other for saying too much. Watching the scene, Christine felt a jolt of recognition, thinking she knew this story. The man continued his tale, explaining that Clare's parents were forced to pay enormous compensation, causing a huge uproar that even involved the royal family. She was expelled to take responsibility. He added that she had a habit of crushing anyone who stood out more than her, and had even insulted a noble she shouldn't have. His tone softened as he concluded. Clare was told she could only return home after repaying the compensation herself. Now, she gets yelled at while doing janitorial work, and her dress is a second-hand item she patched together poorly. As the man spoke, Clare looked down in shame, and Christine let out a weary sigh. She listens patiently before speaking, acknowledging the young noblewoman's situation, but questioning what it has to do with bulk buying. In response, Clare Eisenborg bursts out that she is sick of her current life, the rough clothes, bad meals, and hard beds, and simply wants to earn money to go home. She explains that the idea came to her yesterday during part-time work. She overheard a customer bragging about acquiring rare foreign goods for a low price and was shocked to see they were high-class items, the kind one could hardly find even in the capital. Her eyes gleam with misguided ambition as she lays out her plan. She would buy all the goods from the ignorant merchant at a low cost and then resell them for many times the price, making a fortune. Having handled such items before, she is confident she knows their true value. Christine calmly informs her that this plan constitutes resale, a forbidden and malicious act. She then presses further, asking if Clare has even registered with the commercial guild, as conducting merchant work without a license is illegal. Clare, completely missing the point, declares that Christine should be thanking her for helping sell products at their proper value. The reality of the situation finally dawns on Clare. She realizes her scheme is a forbidden act from which she cannot profit and admits she isn't registered. Overwhelmed, she breaks down into tears, wailing about what she is supposed to do now and demanding to be taught. Christine simply sighs, looking on with exasperation. As Claire begins to understand, Christine explains the guild's rules. While unfairly buying out goods to sell at inflated prices is a violation, it is perfectly acceptable to add reasonable transport and management fees to the purchase price. The first and most crucial step, she clarifies, is to register with the commercial guild. Impressed by Claire's honesty, Christine smiles and reveals a document. She announces that she has already completed the temporary merchant registration procedures on Claire's behalf. As the disgraced noblewoman stares in shock, Christine tells her to wait right there. She then explains that since Claire will now be a fellow merchant, she cannot refuse her entirely. As a gesture, she offers to show her the shop's flagship product, something truly worthy of her discerning eye. Claire's demeanor instantly brightens as she eagerly asks if Christine will finally sell to her. Christine presents two ornate boxes, revealing their contents. They are timekeeping magic tools, available in various shapes and functions like a pocket watch and a wristwatch. She adds that one of them was once owned by the hero. Claire gasps, stunned by the sight of such legendary items. She looks at the timepieces, a blush of awe on her face. She admits that while she has heard of them, she has never seen one before. Even the nobles in her homeland, she reflects, rarely possess such a treasure. She immediately declared her intention to buy 10 of the items, exclaiming that this was the real thing, worth spending her entire fortune on. Christine, however, held up a hand and firmly stated that, as she had said repeatedly, her store's policy was a limit of 5 items per person. Unfazed, she argued that a merchant should prioritize profit and that treating a noble like herself kindly would bring manifold returns. Christine was taken aback by this audacity, especially given Claire's tragic circumstances, though she privately mused that most of those troubles were self-inflicted. Christine stood her ground, explaining that a merchant must obey rules precisely. However, seeing Claire's earnestness, she offered to stretch the limit to 6. Claire immediately countered, demanding 9. The negotiation intensified, with Christine making a final offer of 7, warning that this was the absolute limit and any further argument would cancel the transaction entirely. Claire, flustered, shouted a nonsensical 8-5 items before quickly adding a new condition. She would advertise that she bought the items from Christine's shop. Christine was momentarily confused by the number, but recognized Claire's natural talent for negotiation. Impressed by her potential, Christine agreed to a new limit of 8 items, much to Claire's delight. With a gentle smile, she explained her reasoning. Normally, she wouldn't engage in such a transaction, but Claire's drive and sincerity were palpable. Christine added that recognizing true value is a sign of good commercial intuition and admitted to sympathizing with her situation. She concluded with a sincere hope that Claire would become a fine merchant. Visibly moved, Claire let out a small sound before composing herself with a confident smile. She formally introduced herself as Claire Eisenborg and made a vow. The next time they met, she would be a top merchant, and she would make Christine's shop her primary supplier. The two sealed their new business relationship with a handshake. As they parted ways, Claire thanked Christine for the lesson, stating her plan to take the items to the capital where nobles would surely want them. One of her bodyguards enthusiastically declared that she was far better suited to being a merchant than doing janitor work, urging her to work hard. With a determined huff, Claire led her men away. Watching them go, Christine felt a renewed sense of purpose. Inspired by the tiny, rookie merchant, she was able to conduct her business for the rest of the day with a refreshed spirit, attending to her other customers with newfound energy. With a sigh of relief, Dahlia finishes her task. She has carefully transferred the rice, vinegar, and soy sauce from their original packaging into local earthenware, hoping this disguise will be enough to convince everyone they are not from another world. All that remains is to see if her gambit will be accepted. Her final mission now begins, negotiating with the landlady in the dining hall. As she enters the kitchen, the proprietor, Sarai, greets her with a smile, asking if she is there to order dinner. Dahlia approaches, her expression set with determination. She gets straight to the point, first apologizing for being unable to provide the hero bowl the previous day. As Sarai asks for her order, Dahlia interrupts, explaining that she managed to acquire something special through a certain connection. She presents the jars, revealing the 3 essential ingredients: rice, vinegar, and soy sauce. With these, she asks, is it possible to finally make the hero bowl? Sarai stares in disbelief. She remarks that it has been years since those 3 ingredients vanished from the world. Her immediate conclusion is that they must be fakes. In response to her skepticism, Dahlia suggests Sarai check them herself. The landlady agrees, though still hesitant. She inspects the rice, her eyes widening. She then tastes the vinegar and soy sauce, her doubt melting away into pure shock. They are all real. The landlady grabs Dahlia's shoulders, demanding to know where she acquired such impossibly real ingredients. Dahlia calmly explains that she bought them from a merchant who was selling his entire stock before leaving town, feigning ignorance about any other details. She adds that she was skeptical herself, but Sarai's own expertise has just proven their authenticity. Sarai is overwhelmed, calling it a miracle that the ingredients are available once more. She pleads to buy all of them for her establishment. Seeing her chance, Dahlia states that the price will be a special one, not of money, but of exchange. Her one condition, she declares with a wink, is that Sarai must prepare for her a truly outstanding hero bowl. The landlady enthusiastically agrees, promising to pour her heart and soul into it. Internally, Dahlia erupts with joy, triumphant that she will finally eat the meal she has been dreaming of. Meanwhile, the commotion in the kitchen has not gone unnoticed. In the dining hall, a patron comments on the noise. Tatsuya Ogata remarks to his companion, Grandrai Arist, that he thought he heard something about the 3 rare ingredients, but dismisses it as unlikely. Grandrai simply smirks, noting that everyone else will just have to wait their turn. As she waits, Dahlia glances over at the 2 men who have been staring at her. She knows that elves have excellent hearing and realizes they must have overheard her entire conversation with the landlady. A small smile plays on her lips as she wonders if they too desire the hero bowl. The 2 men are indeed captivated. Tatsuya admits he came to the inn thinking the rumors couldn't possibly be true, but the distinct smell of vinegared rice confirms his hopes. Beside him, Grandry's eyes are wide with shock as he asks aloud if it's true that the hero bowl is actually being served. Word of the legendary dish spread rapidly. Before long, the inn's dining hall was completely filled with people, all drawn by the incredible news, their collective gaze fixed on Dahlia's table. The landlady, Sarai, emerges from the kitchen, apologizing for the wait. She presents a tray to Dahlia, announcing that what she wished for is ready. She gives a simple instruction: dissolve the wasabi in the soy sauce, and then pour it over the meal. Before her sits the famous Sarai hero bowl. Dahlia's mouth hangs open in stunned silence, her eyes wide with awe. The crowd around her, including Tatsuya and Grandrai, murmurs in amazement at the sight of the legendary dish. Her heart pounds with excitement. The hero bowl she had only dreamed of was finally here. Following the landlady's advice, she prepares to dissolve the pungent green paste called wasabi into the soy sauce to pour over her meal. She takes her first bite. An intense, complex flavor explodes in her mouth. After savoring the moment, she whispers her gratitude for the meal. The taste sends her into a state of pure ecstasy. She feels as if she's floating, surrounded by the magnificent dish, letting out a cry of overwhelming joy. At another table, an older man tastes the dish and is struck by a wave of nostalgia. He recognizes the flavor of his hometown and correctly identifies Sarai as being from the same northeastern village where the ingredients originated. Sarai confirms she's the only one left, as the village and its technology were lost. The man laments that he tried to revive the seed, rice many times but failed. When he asks how she acquired the ingredients, Sarai glances toward Dahlia, before vaguely explaining it was through a certain connection with a merchant she happened to meet, protecting Dahlia's role in the matter. Tatsuya observes the bustling room and remarks how it truly shows how much the hero bowl is loved by so many people. Grandrai, however, listens to the exchange with a more somber outlook. He had hoped there might be a lasting chance to revive the dish, but hearing that the ingredients were a one-time acquisition makes him realize the path forward will be difficult. With her hands clasped in delight, Dahlia expresses her complete satisfaction after the incredible meal. A thought then crosses her mind. Could a more fundamental, permanent solution be found for the ingredient supply, rather than just a temporary one? As she heads upstairs, Christine thanks Vol for the meal downstairs. She muses that there probably isn't any seed rice in Shirley's grimoire, but resolves to check her room just to be sure. Back in her room, Dahlia sits on her bed, looking through a catalog. She tells herself not to give up hope, reasoning that the rare ingredients might appear in a limited time section. However, a moment later, she concedes with disappointment that they are not available after all. The long, busy day and a large meal begin to weigh on her. A large yawn escapes her as she feels a wave of sleepiness wash over her. Unable to fight it, she collapses into her bed, falling fast asleep. As she sleeps, a strange sensation begins to creep into her consciousness. A man with pointed ears, Arian, stands over her bed, observing that she is sound asleep. He declares that they are taking her, confident in their escape as he has already summoned a wyvern for their nighttime departure. Arian confirms to his long-haired elven companion that the girl is the culprit. The companion replies that she will face judgment. Far below, their wyvern soars over the moonlit city as Dahlia lies unconscious on the ground, having been moved from her room. Dahlia's consciousness returns. She blinks, her vision clearing to reveal iron bars. She realizes she is in a narrow, windowless prison cell. Through the bars, she sees her 2 elven captors watching her. Arian remarks that she has finally woken up. Drawing on the training she received as a noble's daughter, Dahlia forces herself to remain calm and assess the situation. She quickly deduces that she was put to sleep with magic, kidnapped, and brought to this place. Her composure shatters as she lunges at the bars, shouting. She demands to know where she is and what their objective is. The long-haired elf tells her to lower her voice, while Arian coldly informs her that a criminal like her is going to be put on trial and should stay quiet. With a severe expression, Arian delivers the accusation: seed rice thief. Dahlia is stunned into silence. A criminal? A trial? She stammers that she has no idea what he's talking about, and asks what she could have possibly done. She could only stare in disbelief at the accusation. A thief? Her captor, the dark-haired elf, leaned in, his eyes narrowed with conviction. He declared that the rice she provided to the Sarai inn, the rice with suspicious origins, must be the seed rice they had stored and that she had stolen, protesting that it was all a misunderstanding. A memory surfaced of her time as a merchant, happily providing goods to the proprietress of the inn. She cried out that she was a merchant and had sourced all the goods herself. Her captors remained unmoved. The dark-haired elf, Arian, accused her of lying, stating they had checked every ship at the port and none had unloaded any rice. His light-haired companion reasoned that the only way she could possess rice was if she had stolen it. Faced with their logic, she found herself unable to respond. Clutching the bars of her cell, she despaired. She knew she hadn't stolen anything, but revealing her true source, the catalog mail order, was impossible. She was trapped, with no way to convince her captors, identified as Arian and Riot, of her innocence. As Arian dismissed her pleas as the ramblings of a mixed blood, a new figure arrived, asking if this was the girl captured in Sarai. Arian respectfully addressed the older elf woman as grandmother. The captive stared in shock as the newcomer declared with cold certainty that this filthy half-elf was undoubtedly the thief. But then, the grandmother's expression shifted, her eyes narrowing with an unseen realization. A confused Arian asked what was wrong, but she cut him off, her voice sharp and commanding. "Open the cell immediately and release that girl," she ordered, her tone leaving no room for argument as she repeated the command with force. The truth was suddenly, shockingly revealed. The older woman declared that this child could not be a thief, for she was her own daughter Martine's child, her beloved granddaughter, Christina. As Arian stammered a sincere apology, Christine beamed with relief, having known her grandmother would come for her. Now free, Christine walked beside her grandmother through the breathtaking Fale elf village. Sunlight streamed through the canopy of a great tree, filling the air with shimmering light. Christine marveled at the sight, while her grandmother noted that, under normal circumstances, the place is truly peaceful. After a warm embrace, the grandmother turned her sharp gaze on Arian and Riot, rebuking them for discriminating against Christine because she is a half-elf. She then explained to her granddaughter that the village was on edge due to a recent incident tied to the seed rice theft, which caused the others to act so desperately. Looking over the tranquil scenery, Christine wondered what could have possibly happened in such a peaceful-looking village. Inside the elder's house, Arian confronts Dahlia, summarizing their investigation. They had tracked her supplying rice to an inn and suspected she was the seed rice thief. His companion, the light-haired elf, adds that their inquiries revealed no merchants or ships had brought rice to Sarai, and yet Dahlia was found in possession of it with no explanation. Before responding, Christine interjects with a question: why does this village even possess seed rice? She recalls hearing that the original rice-growing village was destroyed by a monster outbreak, meaning the seeds should have been lost. The elf explains that their village was entrusted by the first hero to protect rice and soybeans, storing them with preservation magic for distribution during famines. He adds that a labyrinth barrier, cast by the hero, protects the village, making it inaccessible to ordinary people. Arian confirms her account is correct. He continues, explaining that while they were troubled by their dwindling stores, a theft of seed rice occurred. Thinking it strange, they went to the other village to investigate, only to discover it had been destroyed. The villagers from that settlement had stopped their regular visits about a year ago. His gaze hardens as he turns back to Dahlia, demanding proof of her innocence against such a despicable crime. He reveals that not only were large amounts of seed rice and soybeans stolen, but also their village's unique koji, and the warehouse keeper was severely injured. Internally, he acknowledges their anger is justified. With a resigned expression, Dahlia understands she can no longer keep her secret. In response, she presents a book with a stylized 2 on the cover. She explains that this magic grimoire, a catalog retailer, allows her to order products from another world, which is how she obtained the rice and soy sauce. Christine's eyes widen in recognition, identifying the grimoire as part of the bridal goods Martina had brought to the Arist household. Christine asks when Dahlia learned to awaken her spirit magic, noting that no one had ever been able to form a contract with that grimoire before. Dahlia clarifies that while she always had the blessing of spirit magic, she never knew how to use it until another blessing awakened a few months ago, allowing her to finally contract with the book. Intrigued, Christine asks to see it, noting that while she previously couldn't sense any power from it now, as her hand draws near, the grimoire erupts with a blinding, overwhelming power. Arian and Volf cry out in shock, unable to comprehend the phenomenon. Dahlia herself is taken aback by the incredible overflow of energy. Christine, however, remains calm, her expression one of immediate understanding. She sees the power for what it is. Her perception pierces the veil of light, revealing the spectral form of a winged, divine woman materializing behind her. Christine recognizes this immense presence instantly. It is the power of Spirit Queen Charlie Sama. The name clicks into place for Dahlia, who realizes that must be why it is called Charlie's Grimoire. Christine confirms the acquisition route is now clear, revealing that the Spirit Queen is Canonarist, a revered companion of the first hero. She then poses a pointed question to the elves. Would someone acknowledged by such a being truly betray them? The weight of the revelation crushes Arian and his companion, who bow deeply and beg for forgiveness for their disrespect. Dahlia, flustered, insists it's fine, but Arian declares it's impossible not to apologize, questioning if the Spirit Queen herself would permit their actions. As they abase themselves, Dahlia looks down at her hands, overwhelmed with the realization that she has truly been blessed to contract with a grimoire from the Spirit Queen Sherry Isama. She expressed her lingering worry that the true thief remained at large. But Christine's grandmother was simply relieved that the misunderstanding involving Christine had been resolved. The older elf declared the matter settled and confirmed that the investigation into the actual culprit would be restarted, a decision Dahlia firmly supported. Continuing her explanation, the grandmother revealed that the elf who had guided the thieves was now in custody. He had confessed to being hired for money by a noble, but since the employer used a false name, their identity remained a mystery. For now, all they could do was search patiently. As Christine absorbed this, her grandmother added that the captured elf was a recent refugee, which had caused them to lower their guard. More alarmingly, there were rumors that the demon race had orchestrated a recent dungeon monster outbreak and was now clashing with the royal family over ownership of the Great Forest. Christine realized they were dealing with a large and complex organization. Her expression turned grim as she elaborated on the refugees' plight. She explained that Arian and his people had originally lived in the Memento Great Forest to the east, but monsters had burned their world tree. Having lost its protection, they were forced to flee to this village. The grandmother sighed, lamenting what a dangerous world it had become. Shifting her focus, the grandmother urged Dahlia to relax. Dahlia reflected internally that since she was no longer part of the hero-exclusive merchant guild, she wouldn't be involved in such conflicts, which is why a new hero had been summoned. She then asked Christine and her grandmother to accompany her to a specific place, the grave of Martina Farrell. Before the gravestone, Dahlia clasped her hands. She spoke to her late mother, Martina, assuring her she was doing well and enjoying her travels as a merchant thanks to the grimoire she left behind. As she asked her mother to continue watching over her, Christine and her grandmother looked on with gentle sympathy. After paying their respects, the grandmother pointed out a spare storage warehouse. She noted that it was fortunate the thieves hadn't discovered it, as an attack on it would have left the village with no seed rice or soybeans. Dahlia identified the building as the one that had been attacked, her mind beginning to work. The implication of the grandmother's words sparked a sudden realization. Understanding that seed rice still remained, Dahlia turned abruptly, grasping the older elf's hands with an earnest expression. She declared that she had a vital request. After hearing Dahlia's plea about a survivor from the destroyed village, the grandmother's expression softened. She understood that giving this person the seed rice could revive cultivation there. She explained that her village also grew a small amount of rice and a variety of soybeans perfect for soy sauce, generously offering to give Dahlia seedlings of both. She elaborated that providing such aid had always been their village's role. They had been troubled, believing no one was left to receive the stored goods, but now that a survivor existed, they would not hesitate to help. Overcome with gratitude, Dahlia's face lit up as she thanked her profusely, exclaiming that reviving rice, soy sauce, and vinegar would bring happiness to many. She is taken aback when Christine mentions she has already been disowned by the Arist family, a fact Dahlia seemingly hadn't fully processed. Christine praises her growth, noting her maneuvering with the Arist Trading Company, and encourages her to eat. As Dahlia savors a bowl of miso soup, finding it deeply comforting, Christine promises to teach her the Farrell family's secret generational techniques for making soy sauce and other staples once she comes of age as an elf, at 50 years old. Dahlia, moved, eagerly looks forward to it. She steps outside, feeling that after so long, she can finally relax properly. It's been ages since she had a vacation, not since being disowned. The warmth of the people in the village touches her. A memory surfaces of a younger Christine with her parents. Her elven father remarks on how fast half-elves grow and affectionately calls her Martina's daughter. The farewells conclude as Christine's grandmother tells her she is counting on her. Christine, in turn, thanks her grandmother and promises to carefully deliver the entrusted seedlings and soybeans. As they depart on a winged beast, her grandmother embraces her, telling her to come back to the village anytime. A week later, she returns to the inn in Sarai. After asking the landlady about the elderly man who survived the village attack, negotiations are set to begin immediately. Dahlia approaches a door and knocks, and a voice from within asks who it is. The door opens to reveal the surprised face of the elderly man. He recognizes her as the young woman from the diner. Dahlia, standing beside Arian, apologizes for the sudden visit and explains that she has an important matter to discuss, having been told about him by the landlady. The man invites them inside. Inside, they take seats at a table. The man asks what business they could have with him, unable to think of any reason for their visit. She gets straight to the point, asking if he used to cultivate rice in the northeastern village. The man confirms this, recounting how his village was attacked while he was on his way to Sarai to sell surplus rice, causing him to lose everything. He laments that even the revived hero bowl he ate was only a temporary comfort. Dahlia then asks if he still knows the methods of cultivation. His expression hardens with conviction. He declares that rice farming is his life itself, a skill ingrained in him since he was a child helping his father in the paddies. Yet, his shoulders slump as he concludes that he is now powerless to do anything. She then gestures to her companion, introducing him as an elf from the village of Feral. With a pardon for the late introduction, she formally presents herself not just as a visitor, but as a private merchant running the Feral shop. She presents a business proposal to the stunned villager, explaining that if he has the will to revive rice cultivation, her shop can provide the means. The man is incredulous, barely able to speak as he recognizes the name of her enterprise, the Feral shop. As proof, she reveals 2 wooden planters. One contains healthy rice seedlings, and the other holds soybeans, both apparently preserved from his former village. The sight of them reduces the man to shame, as he laments having no money to purchase something so precious. His despair quickly turns to elation, however, as he recognizes the lively seedlings and the specific variety of soybeans. He cries out that with these, he can finally grow rice again. She smiles warmly, reassuring him not to worry. The Feral shop, she explains, is flexible with its arrangements. She is content to wait patiently, even if it takes time, asking only that he deliver the rice once the harvest season arrives. With her companion Arian now beside her, she formalizes the proposal with 2 conditions: that the man commits to reviving the rice cultivation, and that the existence of the elven village remains a secret, with the transaction framed as a simple purchase. The villager fervently agrees, promising to give it his all. The man's determination is tempered by a single worry. Without the knowledge of fermentation, the soybeans might go to waste. He then reveals that his inability to give up hope had already driven him to prepare rice paddies behind his house, ready for this very miracle. At this, Arian steps in, stating that the elven elder has ordered him to cooperate, and that he can use magic for the fermentation process. He confides that he, too, lost his homeland and understands the man's feelings. The villager, moved to tears, expresses his profound gratitude as the dream of a normal life feels within reach once more. The business negotiations are successfully concluded, bringing a sense of relief and accomplishment. Sometime later, Dahlia walks along a waterfront, reflecting. Having eaten a hero bowl and paid respects at her mother's grave, she feels no regrets remain and wonders which town to head to next. Deciding to leave it to chance, she throws a branch, which points west. With a burst of excitement, she declares her next destination, the kingdom of Camembert. Her thoughts drifted to the kingdom of Camembert, which she recalled was the homeland of the so-called villainous Clare Eisenborg. A memory of Clare laughing heartily with a companion surfaced in her mind, and Dahlia found herself genuinely wondering how she was, hoping that she was doing well. Meanwhile, far away in the Harberio's kingdom's royal castle, the villainess herself was not doing well at all. Clare Eisenborg stood trembling in the grand audience chamber, the intimidating atmosphere chilling her to the bone. From his throne, the king fixed his gaze upon her and posed a single, weighty question, asking if she was indeed Clare Eisenborg. In the audience chamber of the Harberio's kingdom, Clare Eisenborg stands before the throne, trembling. The king has summoned her, stating he has something to ask. She is overcome with fear, wondering how things came to this when she had only just begun her life as a merchant to earn the funds to return to her family. Outside, at her stall, she had been advertising the sale of time-telling magical tools to the people of the capital. At her stall, Tatsuya Ogata, one of the summoned heroes, inspects her wares. He asks to see one of the watches she is handling, a slight smile playing on his lips as he holds the box. His smile vanishes as he examines the item. He recognizes it instantly as a limited edition model from a famous brand from his world, Japan. He demands to know how she is dealing in Japanese products, leaving Clare and her bodyguard stunned. Clare can only ask what neon is, completely bewildered. Her bodyguards, however, grasp the severity of the situation. One shouts that this is a major incident and urges his companion to come quickly, his face etched with panic. Back in the audience chamber, the king addresses Clare, noting that Tatsuya reported she was selling time-telling magical tools. He then informs her that the sale of such items is forbidden in the kingdom. Unaware of this law, Clare breaks down completely, begging for her life and pleading for help, fearing fines or imprisonment. The king calmly tells her to compose herself, revealing his earlier statement was a fabrication. He clarifies that the sale of the tools is not forbidden, and this is not a tribunal. He explains they have been investigating the appearance of genuine items from the hero's world and suspect the watch she sold is one of them. He asks for her cooperation, and she readily agrees, relieved. With the watch in hand, Tatsuya confirms the inscription is in the script of his world, declaring it an authentic otherworldly product. Hearing this, Ruka Yuzuki excitedly approaches Clare, asking if she has any other items from their world. Ruka and Kunihiko begin listing foods they miss: cream puffs, chocolate, pizza, and cola. As they dream of home, Clare realizes she must be useful to avoid disgrace, recalling she procured the watch from the feral merchant. The king observes, musing that the feral merchant seems to be involved once again in acquiring items from another world. Remembering a conversation she overheard between children in Merkberry, Clare mentions cream puffs. The word electrifies Ruka, who becomes desperate. She demands to know when she can get the sweets. The king interjects that arrangements are already underway, but it will take time. Upon learning it's a 2-week journey, Ruka wails in despair. Shogo Kinokuniya adds that the Pharaoh shop's cream puffs were delicious, suggesting Clare could procure the sweets for them. Ruka, frantic, asks where the merchant is now. Clare explains she met them in the port town of Sarai, a 2-week carriage ride away, much to Ruka's dismay. She is left flustered and stammering by the king's offer. Before her, the king of Harbarios sits upon his throne, thanking Clare Eisenborg for her valuable information and asking what she would like as a reward. She quickly regains her composure and, with a determined expression, makes a bold request. She asks to purchase all the time-keeping magical devices, adding that she hopes the price will reflect their otherworldly origin. The king observes her, noting her impressive business acumen. Her request causes Ruki Yuzuki to flinch in surprise. Clare, however, is internally celebrating, thinking that as a merchant, this deal brings her a huge step closer to paying off her debts. Ruka calculates the distance to the merchant's location, a 2-week journey by carriage. Her shock gives way to a sharp, confident smile as a realization strikes her. That's it, she thinks, a plan forming in her mind. Several days after departing the port town of Sarai, Dahlia finally arrives at the border of the Harbarios kingdom. She looks out from her carriage at the fortress city of Labali, where she intends to stay briefly before entering the Camembert kingdom, seeking a particular local specialty. She has set up a stall and begins her day's business, calling out to passersby. She advertises fresh seafood and dry goods from Sarai. 2 men are drawn in, one asking about the seafood and the other marveling at the rarity and freshness of the catch. She explains her secret to the customers. While food is normally kept fresh in an item box with ice, her personal item box possesses the ability to stop time for its contents, allowing for superior preservation. Her fresh seafood proves to be a great success, and she soon sells out for the day. After the long journey, Dahlia feels the exhaustion in her bones. However, she pushed through, knowing a special reward awaited her. She arrives at her destination, a hot spring, the famous specialty of Labali, and sinks into the steaming water with a contented sigh. As she soaks, she recalls that the world of the first hero also had hot springs, which were said to aid fatigue recovery, cure all manner of illnesses, and even be good for one's skin. Suppressing her eagerness, she decides to cleanse herself first, wanting to try some new items she purchased from a catalog. The items are revealed: a liquid soap for the body called body soap, a hair washing agent called shampoo, and a hair treatment called conditioner, all modern conveniences from another world. She sat before a mirror, contemplating the local bathing customs. While soap from the Alchemist Guild was produced, it was expensive, and most people used a cheaper laundry stone. Even in her family home, she had only used simple soap bars. Liquid soap was unheard of. She recalled the grand description on the hair-washing medicine she possessed that would grant hair the world will envy, and decided it was time to put it to the test. As she began to wash, she was immediately astonished. A small amount of shampoo produced a rich lather with a luxurious floral scent. The conditioner left her hair feeling impossibly glossy. The body soap created a dense foam that cleansed her skin, leaving it smooth and supple. She realized with awe that these otherworldly products were far superior to even the best alchemical soaps. After rinsing clean, she made her way to the main attraction, the hot spring. She stepped in, and a pleasant warmth immediately began to soak into her body. The sensation was pure bliss. She let out a deep, satisfied sigh, feeling every muscle relax in the soothing water. Leaning back, she fully immersed herself in the experience. The extraordinary feeling of soaking in such an open, relaxing place was irresistible. She mused that this must be the hot spring culture that even the first hero had come to love. Later, after getting dressed, Dahlia noticed she was drawing stairs as she walked through a common area. It was only natural, she thought with a hint of pride, given her newfound radiance. 2 women approached her, their curiosity piqued. One asked about the medicine she had been using in the bath, noting it wasn't the usual guild soap, and wondering where she had acquired it. Dahlia beamed, thinking to herself that she had truly become an existence the whole world would envy. Her companion eagerly chimed in, exclaiming that she also wanted to know. She expressed a deep desire to try whatever it was to achieve such smooth skin and glossy hair. Faced with their earnest requests, Dahlia considered her options. She glanced at the small sample bottles she carried, labeled C and B. An idea struck her. She hadn't originally intended to sell these items and only had a small supply, but this was an opportunity. She made a decision. "I run a personal business called the File Store," she announced. She offered to give them the hair and body washing liquids she had just used as free samples, inviting them to visit her stall to purchase more if they were pleased. The women reacted with surprise, realizing she was a merchant, which explained how she possessed such rare and wonderful items. She watched, pleased, as the women thanked her and began lining up to try the samples. Dahlia noted that for a hot spring town, the locals' high standard for beauty was wonderful. She gently reminded them to take turns and use only a little so the products would go around. Later, back in her room, she sat on the bed with a book, already planning her next move. She would need to place an additional order for the shampoos and soaps, and began considering what other products might sell well in a place like this. Her research led her to a section on health goods, which seemed like a perfect fit. She read about tsubo, pressure points in the body that improve physical ailments. The idea of a foot massage board that stimulates these points just by standing on it seemed dubious, but she also found a diagram for a pressure point on the hand meant to relieve shoulder stiffness. Deciding to test it, she pressed down hard on the spot. A sharp jolt of pain made her cry out, and she thought it felt far too suspicious. But moments later, she was stunned to feel the stiffness in her shoulder genuinely ease. She had achieved a healing effect, much like holy magic, without any magic at all. She was truly impressed. Her research continued. She considered how one often feels sweaty after a bath, making it difficult to get dressed. Breathable clothing like yukata, she concluded, would be an excellent product to offer. As she wrote down her plans, she smiled, thinking that all these items would enrich everyone's bathing experience. She decided to purchase the health goods. Then, a final idea struck her for the perfect post-bath refreshment, a chilled bottle of fruit-flavored milk. She told herself it wasn't just because she wanted to drink it. After placing her orders, she finally went to sleep, feeling warm and comfortable. The next morning, she awoke with a start, surprised by how deeply she had slept. Her fatigue was gone. Her body felt as light as a feather, and she was full of energy for the day ahead. Energized, she headed towards the spot she'd secured for her stall, but stopped when she saw a crowd. She wondered what was happening, but then the women from the night before spotted her. They called out that the file store owner had arrived and rushed over, explaining they'd heard she was opening a stall. One woman raved that her hair and skin were the best they'd ever been, while another, who hadn't tried a sample, was now desperate to buy the products after hearing the stories. Faced with their overwhelming enthusiasm, she stammered an affirmative, promising to get everything ready immediately and asking them to please wait. Her words were nearly drowned out by the growing clamor. The women surged forward, telling each other not to push as they shouted their orders. "A full set, please," one yelled, while another told her friend, "They're selling a rare soap at this stall that makes you beautiful." She had completely sold out in what felt like an instant. The rush of noble women had been overwhelming, and now a line of disappointed customers remained. "Is it all gone already?" one woman asked, while another inquired, "When will you have more?" With a polite but weary smile, Dahlia could only ask them to wait for the next restock, placing a sign on her empty table that read "Sold out for today." She had truly underestimated the fervor with which women pursued beauty. Indeed, business was booming. Such was the magic of beauty itself. In the port town of Sarai, marquee Bluza Arst reflects on recent developments. Information on Christine had been scarce since she left Mercenary, but progress has been made. It was discovered she had been working as a merchant in this very town, seen dealing with another merchant who arrived by carriage. Beyond that, there's one more thing he must confirm. He enters an eatery and asks for the landlady. The woman at the counter is startled, recognizing him immediately as the head of the Ars Trading Company. Bluza explains his presence. The Hero's Bowl, a dish thought lost due to ingredient shortages, has suddenly been revived in the very dining hall where Christine had been staying. The Marquis politely requests a moment of her time, stating he has a request concerning the revived dish. The flustered landlady agrees, though she wonders what business he could have. As he waits, he observes the lively dining room. He notes that the place is bustling and that he's looking forward to the meal, as it's been several years since he last had it. In the background, the hero Tatsuya Ogata expresses his own delight at being able to eat the hero's bowl once again. When his bowl arrives, he quickly takes a bite. He is immediately struck by the quality. The rice has more luster than he remembers, and the aroma of the vinegar is more vibrant. His eyes widen in genuine surprise. The landlady beams, explaining that the ingredients they specially procured this time are of exceptional quality. Bluza considers this. If Christine truly supplied these otherworldly ingredients, it would certainly be enough to satisfy the heroes. The dish itself is a masterpiece. Soft vinegared rice, with a sharp soy sauce enhancing the flavor of the sashimi, making it far more delicious than before. She then apologizes, informing him that due to very limited stock, they've had to impose a limit of 1 bowl per customer. Undeterred, Bluza makes his request. He needs 4 heroes' bowls prepared for takeout. The landlady is stunned by the quantity. He acknowledges that his demand is unreasonable. His expression turns serious as he leans forward, stating that while he cannot explain the details, it is absolutely necessary. He implores her to cooperate. The landlady looks troubled. She replies that while she would love to help, the hero's bowl is now a rare delicacy, and in order to serve as many people as possible, fulfilling his request is difficult. Bluza's demeanor instantly changes. His face darkens with menace as he plants his hand firmly on the table. With a chilling tone, he questions if she is speaking with full awareness of his station, and if she truly intends to defy his request. His intimidating aura overwhelms the shopkeeper, who recoils with a gasp, stammering an apology. Seeing her terror, he immediately regrets his outburst. Covering his face with a hand, he apologizes, telling her to forget what he just said as he had no intention of causing a scene. Though still shaken, the shopkeeper's fear gives way to curiosity. She asks him how he could possibly know that the failed trading company was not the source of the ingredients. He explains that he is acquainted with the merchant who supplied the lost foodstuffs. He then makes a promise on his company's name. If he encounters her, he will ask her to resume deliveries to this town. Having made his case, he asks if she will now listen to his request. Moved by his earnestness, the shopkeeper's expression softens. She tells him that if the marquee is willing to go to such lengths, she understands. She agrees to prepare his order and asks him to wait. Outside, the marquee hands a subordinate a magic bag imbued with a time-stopping enchantment. He instructs the man to rush the hero's bowls to the royal castle, hoping it will somewhat improve the hero's moods. As his subordinate departs, he reflects on his earlier outburst. He realizes these symptoms, dizziness, fading consciousness, and verbal slips, have been occurring frequently ever since he heard from Lady Rose and her father about their plan to exile Christine. He dismisses the thought, deciding there's no time to dwell on it now. He will rest properly once this matter is resolved. He feels he can finally see Christine's path and is close to catching her. To do so, he resolves to borrow a communication magic tool from the local guild. Using the device, he issues a direct order to the Labali of Merkberry. They are not to grant any border-crossing application from the failed trading company. Furthermore, he commands them to detain its members on site until he arrives personally. His command is directed toward the heavily fortified border stronghold, the fortress city of Labali. Operating under her merchant alias, Sarai, Dahlia greets the enigmatic Mr. Persona. She thanks him for his help and notes their unusual meeting spot on a busy main street, a necessity since his carriage couldn't navigate the roads near her stall. Her curiosity piqued by the onlookers, she remarks that she has never seen him speak to anyone but her and wonders about the mechanism behind it. He explains that his transactions are protected by a spell called recognition obstruction. This spirit magic subtly influences those nearby, making them feel they shouldn't approach him or his associates until he has departed. He then reiterates that, as per their agreement, he only deals directly with the grimoire's contractor. Dahlia is momentarily taken aback by his straightforwardness. She accepts his explanation, concluding it must be the effect of powerful spirit magic. With the inspection of her goods complete, she confirms she will pay him. He cautions her to be swift in storing her new inventory, as the spell's effect will vanish the moment his carriage disappears, leaving the items vulnerable to theft. As their business concludes, he presents her with a glowing book marked with a Roman numeral for 3. He congratulates her, announcing that her membership level with the catalog service has been upgraded to level 3 and begins to explain the new benefits that come with it. The primary new benefit is a designated delivery address service. This allows a sender to specify a recipient's address on the order form for direct delivery. For security, only the designated person can accept the package. If they are absent, the delivery is simply rescheduled. She finds the new service incredibly convenient and confirms she will definitely use it. With their transaction complete, Mr. Persona bids her farewell, stating he looks forward to their future business as his carriage begins to pull away. The moment his carriage vanishes, the recognition obstruction spell breaks. A crowd of eager customers immediately swarms Dahlia, asking when she'll have her popular hair-washing medicine and liquid body soap back in stock. Flustered, she explains that sales will begin the following day, realizing this sudden attention is the result of the magic wearing off. Later, safely indoors, she stretches her arms high above her head with a great yawn, exclaiming how utterly exhausted she is from the day's events. Her fatigue settles deep into her muscles as she sits at her desk, massaging a stiff shoulder. She laments that logging the large number of new items took so long, leaving her body aching all over. She finds herself wishing she could soak in a hot spring. Then, realization strikes her. This is the perfect chance to test the new health products she just acquired. She picks up a half-moon-shaped board made of bamboo, recalling its description. Stepping on it stimulates pressure points in the feet to improve blood circulation, an effect said to be comparable to the healing of holy magic. She steps onto the bamboo foot pressure board, a warmth immediately spreading through her body. She notes that the sensation is becoming quite addictive. The feeling is a strange mix of sensations. She admits to herself that while it is quite painful, it is also gradually becoming pleasant. Her gaze then falls upon another item, a foot pressure massage board. If a simple bamboo roll was this effective, she wonders what this one might do. With a determined glint in her eye, she decides to face the challenge. The experience leaves her utterly overwhelmed, collapsing on her bed. She marvels at the sheer intensity, realizing that while the bamboo board offered a pleasant ache, this was a sharp pain that gave way to a profound sense of relief. Having worked up a sweat, she decides to wash it all away in a bath, her mind already on the other new products she's yet to try. Emerging from the bath completely refreshed, she slips into the provided yukata. She is pleased to find that, just as the description promised, the garment is comfortable and doesn't cling to her skin. Her attention turns to a post-bath refreshment, an ice-cold bottle of fruit milk. The very concept is a novelty. Having grown up in the capital where fresh milk is a rarity due to preservation challenges, the idea of it being mixed with fruit is an unknown delight. With anticipation, she takes a drink. The flavor that floods her senses is immediate and profound, causing her eyes to widen in surprise at its unexpected depth. The taste transports her to an idyllic pasture. She can sense the freshness of the milk, as if tasting the grand nature where the cow was raised, now blended with the sweetness of fruit into a blissful, melting sensation. Snapping back to reality, She lets out a contented sigh. So this is fruit milk. She can feel the cool liquid seeping into her warm body, revitalizing her very cells from the inside out. She stood refreshed, still clad in the comfortable yukata and holding the bottle of fruit milk. Her presence immediately drew the attention of two passers-by, who stopped in their tracks. One woman, with short dark hair, pointed with a start, questioning the strange clothes and asking if they were a new product, while her companion also zeroed in on the drink in Dahlia's hand. Their excitement was palpable as they turned to the shopkeeper, Sarai, who confirmed that these were indeed new items for sale. As Sarai politely handled the enthusiastic customers, Dahlia fell into deep thought. She had considered selling them at a street stall, but a nagging feeling told her that such a venue wouldn't properly convey the product's quality. She pondered if there might be a more effective way to market them. Her contemplation led her to a direct negotiation with Sarai. Seated across from the shopkeeper, Dahlia presented a box. Sarai, with a knowing smile, remarked on Dahlia's shrewd plan, calling her a wicked one as she accepted the package. Impressed, Sarai commented that Dahlia was quite the general, a formidable person, declaring their deal a success. They sealed the agreement with a handshake, Sarai stating that they were now bound together in this venture. As their hands met, a bold laugh seemed to echo under the moonlit night. Within a hot spring inn, patrons are abuzz with excitement over new amenities. One woman exclaims in delight, while another mentions having tried the new liquid body soap and hair-washing medicine. A man comments on the surprising comfort of the unfamiliar, loose-fitting garments. Elsewhere, another patron endures the sharp pressure of a bamboo foot massager, declaring that the intense sensation proves it must be effective. After their refreshing bath, a group of patrons, flushed and relaxed, enjoy small bottles of milk, savoring the cool drink. Two of them, a man and a woman, toast with their fruit milk. He declares it absolutely delicious, while she remarks that the idea of drinking milk after a bath had never occurred to her, feeling as though she's been missing out her entire life. The enthusiasm leads them to a sales countermand by Dahlia. One of the men from the group eagerly asks for one of everything, making sure to request the bamboo foot massager and the fruit milk. Sometime later, Sarai, the inn's proprietor, beams as she speaks with Dahlia. She reports that the partnership is a great help, as customers are now coming specifically for the products, boosting the inn's revenue. Dahlia smiles, noting that with 70% of the product sales going to her, it is indeed a mutually beneficial arrangement. As they are talking, a man with a neat mustache approaches. He introduces himself as Martini, the operator of another inn in town and a fellow member of Sarai's Hot Spring Association. He politely asks Dahlia to come inside to discuss something. Now seated in an office, Martini explains his purpose. He tells Dahlia he has come on behalf of the Hot Spring Association with a proposal, having seen her business acumen. He wants her to supply her products to the other member inns to help invigorate the entire district. He slides a soroban across the table, presenting his proposed price for the deal. Dahlia studies the abacus, her expression unreadable as she quietly considers his offer. Looking up with a sharp glint in her eyes, she tells him to wait, stating that her own desired terms are different. She then asks if he's heard about her new products, mentioning coffee milk and strawberry milk, which she guarantees will be popular. As Martini and Sarai lean forward in surprise and intrigue, Dahlia questions if his offer even includes the fruit milk. She continues her presentation, unveiling two new beverages. The first is a coffee milk, blending the mellow flavor of milk with aromatic coffee from the tropics. The second is a limited edition strawberry milk, made with special Amio strawberries, a variety named for the king himself. She confidently states that both are expected to be extremely popular and will surely sell out. The mention of the king's name startles the inn's landlady. She asks in disbelief if this means the product has royal endorsement. Dahlia calmly confirms that it is a strong possibility. The landlady's attempt to continue her own negotiation is swiftly interrupted by Vice Branch Manager Martini. He declares that he is now handling the discussion, excitedly telling Dahlia that her products are amazing and demanding she supply his establishment with a larger quantity. With that, the negotiation is settled. Dahlia and Martini shake hands, both agreeing to the terms. She politely expresses her hope for a good working relationship. Afterward, the landlady approaches Dahlia, expressing her gratitude. She believes Dahlia's efforts will bring great prosperity to the entire Hot Spring district, as Cinnamon Dahlia is pleased to hear. As a token of her appreciation, the landlady offers to cover the referral fee for a particular group. Dahlia inquires about the group in question. When a landlady mentions the Heroes group, she and Martini exchange a look. The landlady seems troubled, trailing off as she considers them. She elaborates on her hesitation. The inn that once hosted the Heroes, she explains, is a historic establishment, but is not a member of their association. Despite several invitations, they have remained uncooperative, so she feels no duty to extend them any favors. Brushing the matter aside, the landlady turns her attention to Christine Fail. She dismisses any unsavory rumors and advises Christine not to get involved. Changing the topic entirely, she presents a bottle of fine wine as a thank you gift and invites Christine to drink with them. The next day, after a pleasant evening, Dahlia walks through the town. Having enjoyed her stay, she decides it's time to begin the process of traveling to the Camembert Kingdom. She knows the procedure for crossing the border can be cumbersome, requiring a review by the commercial guild that could take as long as a month, so she resolves to start early. However, upon arriving at the guild, she is met with an unexpected obstacle. Rosemary, the guild official, bows her head in apology. She states with finality that she is unable to issue a border crossing permit for Christine Fail. Dahlia can only stare back, utterly bewildered. The guild official, Rosemary, formally delivers her message. A communication has arrived from the border guard, sent by Marquis Bluza Arist of the Arist Trading Company. The instructions are clear. Lady Fail is not to be issued a border crossing permit and must wait where she is. Dahlia is stunned by the news, wondering why Christine's own father would resort to such a forceful measure. Before she can fully process it, a man's voice calls out. Startled, she turns to find Marquis Bluza Arist himself standing directly behind her, apologizing for his sudden appearance. He greets them, noting it has been some time and expressing his relief at finding them. He explains that he had just arrived in town and was in the middle of his own entry procedures when he received a message from the guild, prompting him to rush over. He then asks Dahlia if she can spare a moment, proposing they borrow a private room at the guild to discuss something important. Still taken aback, Dahlia quickly agrees. Moments later, inside a private room, Marquis Arist sits across from his daughter, Christine. He states his intention to be direct, explaining that while he was surprised by their unexpected reunion, understanding the current situation is his top priority. Christine confirms his suspicions about the medicinal wine, stating that it was indeed a product from another world. She adds that the heroes' party themselves confirmed this, making it impossible to deny. Her father leans forward, his tone urgent. He asks her to tell him about the otherworldly merchant she knows. He explains that he is now in a position where he must urgently acquire goods from another world and have been searching for her in the hopes she could help. He continues, calling it a pathetic story. Christine, sensing the gravity of the situation, asks what matter could possibly be so urgent. As she listens to his explanation, a cold realization dawns on her. She understands perfectly. Her brother, Ostel, must have confidently accepted an order from the heroes' party that he is now unable to fulfill. To cover his failure, he attempted to frame her for theft. A wry smile touches Christine's lips as she remarks on the sheer foolishness of it all. She confirms that she understands the situation. The hero's lack of motivation to fight the demon tribe has escalated into a national crisis. Though annoyed at having to clean up her brother's mess, she agrees to cooperate for her father's sake. Relieved, the Marquis tells her that Ostel's scheme failed and she is innocent, but the order for the hero remains unfulfilled. He then presents a list, asking if she can procure the items. She presented the grimoire, her hand glowing with the mark of a contract, and asked her father to wait while she confirmed its contents. Marquis Arist could only stare, stunned by the sudden display of magic. Before he could fully react, she began to explain that after being disowned, she had formed a contract with the grimoire, a keepsake from her mother. Now that he was here, she felt it was time he knew. Her father, still reeling, demanded to know what she meant by confirming and why she possessed the book in the first place. She continued, revealing that just before the contract was sealed, she was suddenly granted 4 blessings. It was because of one of these, a blessing for otherworldly language, that she believed she could now read the text within. She explained that the book was a product catalog from another world, allowing orders to be placed with a special merchant. Her father asked if she could truly read the hero's script written inside. The realization then struck him. He remembered her coming-of-age ceremony, where she supposedly received no blessings. This incredible talent must have been dormant within her all along. While he processed the shock, Christine reflected privately. She had, in fact, received the blessing of spirit magic back then, but kept it secret, feeling it was useless since she had no way to learn the art. Now, she wondered if that very blessing was what enabled her to form a contract with the grimoire. The implication struck the Marquis with the force of a physical blow. He clutched his head, his mind reeling with the impossible thought. Christine had been granted the blessing of spirit magic. Seeing his profound distress, she asked if it was truly that important. He explained that an ancient tradition dictates the heir to the Arist house must be one who holds the blessing of spirit magic. Though it had become a mere formality over time, it was the original, official condition for succession. She responded coolly, noting that since she was disowned, the rule was irrelevant to her. The succession would proceed as planned to her brother, Grandrai. Her father, however, was lost in the staggering realization that it was Christine, not his son, who had fulfilled the true requirement for heirship. His despair suddenly twisted into a dark, calculating grin. Spirit magic, he thought, the power of the Spirit Queen. His entire demeanor shifted as he looked up, asking if her confirmation was complete. Christine watched him, unsettled by the abrupt change. She answered, pushing aside the disturbing image of her father's expression. She confirmed that she had reviewed the list and that the hero's requested items were available for express delivery the next morning. At his cry of genuine relief, she dismissed the fleeting, sinister look she had seen as a mere trick of the light. She assures her father that she can arrange for the items to be delivered to a specified address in the royal capital. Marquis Arist, relieved, marvels at the power of her grimoire and asks what he can do for her in return for her continued help. She smiles, mentioning that her father also ate the Hero's Bowl Revive at the Sarai shop. He confirms this, noting that the quality of the ingredients was excellent and that he now understands she was involved in that as well. He then explains that in exchange for his own assistance, he promised that she would supply additional ingredients for the Hero's Bowl. He asks if she will agree to this arrangement. She confidently tells him that his help isn't necessary, as people are already working to revive rice, vinegar, and soy sauce. Through various connections, she was able to entrust seeds and soybeans to the right people, ensuring the ingredients will eventually be in circulation again. Her father is impressed by her wonderful initiative. He admits that while investigating her whereabouts, he made many inquiries and heard people at the Sarai shop praising the field store. He apologizes for everything, and Christine offers to deliver other goods to the shop as well. He recalls the moment clearly, remembering the shopkeeper Sarai, along with Margaret and Count Chatteries, speaking highly of her business. Returning to the present, the Marquis smiles warmly, remarking that Christine is on a wonderful journey, making people happy. She humbly replies that it is all thanks to the grimoire her mother left for her. He then informs her that he must go pay his respects to the local lord, whom Christine identifies as Grace Labali, the female Margrave. The Marquis confirms this, adding that he also needs to thank her and her husband regarding a border crossing permit. He tells Christine they will meet again the next morning for the delivery of goods to her stall. Before departing, he notices the tired look on her face and suggests that after her business is concluded, she should relax at a hot spring. He admits he hasn't had a moment's rest himself and plans to recover his own energy there as well. With a sense of resolution, he tells her he is relieved that things are heading toward a solution, thanks to her. He asks her to continue her efforts and reaches out to shake her hand. As their hands clasp, his grip is unexpectedly forceful, causing a flash of pain across Christine's face. She quickly composes herself as Marquis Arist asks what is wrong. She insists it is nothing, but internally, she cannot shake the deeply unpleasant feeling that just washed over her. His behavior felt strange, dissonant. Her gaze falls upon him again, his face now cast in shadow, his expression grim. With her hands clasped anxiously, she asks, "Father, there's nothing wrong,